Hello and welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are the Yerky Boys. All right. This week we're doing the Hork-Bajir Chronicles. Time for everyone to get hyped for the Hork-Bajir Chronicles.
Part 1.
Part 1. Because we just can't contain ourselves.
Chapters prologue through 12.
Yes.
This is our second Chronicles book.
Indeed it is.
And our fourth non-main series Animorphs book.
Yes, that's true.
It's fun to statistics, facts. I don't know if it's statistics.
But I don't know if it's fun either.
Yeah. Well, that's for the listener to decide. This book, of course, was released in 1998, October.
Mm-hmm. So there were actually two books released in October of 98, this one and the next one, 23. Now, unfortunately, book 23 references stuff from this book, so this order has to happen this way. And I say unfortunately because it means that when we do our little, classically we break our seasons after the Chronicles books, right? Classically, yes. Our long-standing tradition. And that does mean that the season 2 is going to be shorter than average and the season 3 is going to be longer, but there's really just no way to do it any other way and have the order make sense.
Yeah, can I tell you something funny?
Yeah.
I forgot to get my Kindle. It's not next. I gotta go get it. It's over it's over somewhere else. I gotta go grab it. I don't have the book, so.
Do you want to cut this part out, or you want me to just keep talking?
No, it's just gonna take me 10 seconds.
I say.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go get. Oh no, I have headphones in. I'm just gonna go get the book.
Have fun over there. All right. So this book here, I'm very well. Actually, I think we might have a little bit of business before we get into. But I will say, while he's going and dealing with his shit, this book here, I'm very excited to do this. I said when we did book 19 that was my favorite non-Chronicles book, and when I said that, this is the book that I'm specifically talking about. This here is my favorite Animorphs book. When I was a kid, this was my favorite book, period. Like there's quite a decent amount of time where this was just my favorite book. And it's going to be hard for me to, I'm, as an adult, like it's obvious this is still easily in like the top 3, no question. But it's really hard for me to assess, like, is it actually the best Animorphs book or is it just like close to the best? I can't tell because I love it so much from being a kid.
Here's what I'll say. I got my book, by the way.
Good job.
I've only read the first third.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything more than that, than what we're covering today.
Mm-hmm.
All I will say on that, so I'm not making any judgments on the book as a whole, but what I will say is, I can't remember what order you read this in. I don't know if you read this when it came out or if you had gone back and...
I would have read this exactly when it came out, and I would not have gotten every book up until now. By this point, I would have had some filling in of gaps, but
because I will just say, reading through these chronologically the way we're doing, I don't think this book has quite the same impact as, for example, Andalite Chronicles, just because it's like. We had that big, epic, crazy, mind-blowing book, and a little bit of this is like not even as a qualitative like, oh, it's not as good, but it's hard to get that level of impact back because we've kind of done it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. This book is nowhere near as crazy as Andalite Chronicles, and it doesn't go to as many places. The story it tells is much simpler. But part of what I like about it is the vibes. It's got very, unique vibes for the series. And we can talk about that a little bit more when we get into it, because a lot of that is established in this first third.
Yeah, well, we have plenty of time today, so we can fuck around as much as we
Of
want.
course, yeah. No, there's no way we could possibly make this our longest
We're
episode to
only
date.
doing 1/3 of the book. Come
I
on.
know. How could it possibly be longer than 2.5 hours?
let's speculate for a few minutes. No. A few orders of business. Okay, we hyped you up now for Hork-Bajir. Put that in the back burner. We're gonna get to Hork-Bajir.
Yeah,
But
we have
just
other business to take care of.
a little business to take care of. I actually want to say two pieces of personal business from the David trilogy that we just finished. The first one is, I made a reference that I was like, oh, David is kind of like the Thanos. He's really more like the Ultron. So I just wanted to put that correction out there.
Okay.
It's more like the Ultron.
Right.
The fans will know.
I see what you're saying.
I want another Marvel point here. I just want to say I've been thinking about this for a few weeks now. It's been in my head. There was some, the in one of the books, the controllers had glasses that shoot people like Cyclops.
Mm-hmm.
And they mentioned it being like the X-Men, or maybe they did. Right?
They?
Or no, or did I just say that?
You definitely said that. I'm sure they referenced X-Men. I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe they did.
No, yeah, I don't think they did, because I don't know. I made some crack about how I was like, Kay Applegate doesn't know who Cyclops is. I don't know. And now it felt, looking back on it, it feels gatekeepy. I don't like it. It feels like I was being a dick. Kay Applegate probably knows who Cyclops is, and I just wanted to apologize.
That's good. I'm glad you're getting out ahead of these controversies.
It was 3 weeks ago.
It is important that you stay on top of this because, another point of business here is that we are starting to become real public figures. Your hit smash parody
Right.
of 22 is taking off.
Yeah,
I just
that's
want to
charting.
let the listeners know that, if this trend continues, we're not going to let fame change us or wealth. We're still going to be the same lovable guys who we've always been, but we won't be doing this podcast anymore. No way. Not when I'm making money.
No, right. That
I mean,
reminds
you'll be
me.
making money, but I'll be parasiting off of you. So.
Yeah, but before I get to our next point of business, we do want to stop and bring you this message from BetterHelp. Do you feel like you're fucking a piece of shit?
You feel like everyone in your life is being controlled by a slug in their brain?
Join BetterHelp today. Okay, BetterHelp. Sorry, BetterHelp.
You think BetterHelp is like a front organization for the Yerks?
I do now. Yeah,
You log on and be like, "Help! I'm depressed." And have you tried the sharing?
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Now that you say it, it's obvious. What else could it be? All right, there is one email we wanted to talk about today. We do have other email business, but it's stuff we're saving for a few weeks from now. So hang tight. Specifically, if you're Nick No Name. This email. By the way, Nick No Name made a joke about like I'm not bothering to make an anonymous email. This email we got today. Sorry, we're doing the sharing.
Oh right, yeah, your little jingle.
This person did actually make an anonymous email. So,
God damn.
I think they use the website where it's just like a generic. You probably don't have to like register or anything. You just type in and it does it for you. But I don't know. That's more power to you. This comes from anonymous email, no name, nothing. It's a comment about the David trilogy, a specific thing that you had said, Will, that we talked about. This email says, "Hi guys, found your podcast early from a post on r/Animorphs, marketing and action, baby, and have been listening ever since. In your episode on book 21, I believe that was the threat.
Yeah, that was the threat.
Will loses it.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I had a little meltdown.
At 1 hour, 52 minutes, 26 seconds.
Jesus Christ.
When he notes that it doesn't make sense for the Animorphs to be confused why the world leader isn't being grabbed, because the guys who were supposed to grab the world leaders are knocked out.
Right.
You could, if listeners go back and listen. I'm not
Yeah.
recapping this. I couldn't even,
Yeah.
I can hardly even remember.
No, that's a good recap.
Anyway, they continue. But I think there were going to be controllers on the outside of the hologram that were going to grab them because of this earlier passage. Quote, our plan was equally simple. We'd wait till the controllers outside shoved the president or
Hmm.
prime minister our way. Then we'd grab him and ... three dots, end quote. So I think there are two sets of controllers. The ones inside the hologram that the Animorphs hammer with the awl and the plumb bobs and all of that. They are
Right,
knocked
right.
out. But there were also going to be controllers on the outside that would push the world leaders into the hologram. May the Kandrona continue to shine on you, to you as well, anonymous listener.
Hmm.
What do you think?
So I don't appreciate being corrected. I think that if you want to have takes, you can have your own podcast. I am the expert here. I do this for a living. No,
Yeah.
I
No, that's
probably,
right. Fuck you.
no, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that line clearly. It's in there. So, um, yeah, I mean, maybe it does make sense. That would be good. That would imply to me that it did not read that book multiple times over the span of 15 to 20 years and never pick up on that before. So I would like that. It'd be better if I just made a mistake once now.
But does
So
that
that's
make sense? That there's like, why are there two? No, I guess it makes.
sure.
Yeah.
Why
It does
not?
explain it because otherwise, how would they have gotten the president in there? They like a guy would have had to come out of. Well, I thought the idea was that the pillar was blocked from view, so they could just like pull them
Right.
inside.
Yeah, no, that's what
But
I was thinking here too. But I guess they could push him in from outside too. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
if
I
it says it
guess.
in the book, then I guess that's what they were doing.
Yeah, it's certainly not extremely well illustrated in the book, but you know what? It's like okay, that
Yep.
we've squared it
Easy,
away.
easy to lose yourself in the details, but that's what we have our vigilant our listeners
Hmm.
emails. They can fill us in.
Yeah, that's what that's for. That's what that's
Right.
for.
Everything
So
serves its purpose.
now we can all rest easy at night understanding that section of the book. And we appreciate your emails. If you'd like to have an email sent in and read on the show about anything that has to do with Animorphs, email us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. Doesn't matter if it's recent or new, as long as you don't spoil anything. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
good
get into
sharing.
today's book. The
And we'll get to you, Nick
sharing.
No Name.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay. All right. Today's
All
book.
right.
Which one was that again?
The Hork-Bajir Chronicles.
That's right, and that's how Hork-Bajir canonically talk.
Yeah, that was my version of like I don't know, it was like an old MS DOS PC game where the sound card's not that good. Welcome to Animorphs. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. It's early.
What was it? Was it last time we recorded too late? Now it's too early. Listen, let's talk about this cover.
Okay.
How do you feel about this cover?
All right. So I don't remember if the Andalite Chronicles also had the Animorphs at the top in kind of a separate banner. I'm not
Uh,
getting to the illustration yet. We're just talking about the title right now.
I think it did. Let me pull it up real quick, like here.
But I like it. It's got like almost like a gold foil. I don't know if it's actually. I don't think if it's shiny.
Oh,
I'm just looking at the picture.
it did not.
Okay,
Yeah, this is new.
it does kind of obstruct the flow. I sort of wish it just said the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, but I get it.
Hmm.
But it's got like some suns in the background, or I guess there's stars, which are suns.
Well, they're
Suns are
actually
stars.
sparkly. Like on the actual book, it's
Oh,
like
it
a
is.
yeah.
That's
You know what I
nice.
mean? Like those are. It's like unwrapping paper.
Right. It's like foil. I don't
Yeah,
know. So
it's
that's pretty
pretty.
cool. I don't know what the significance of that symbol is. I wonder how they landed on that.
Which symbol?
the littles, like the little stars in the background of the banner, little suns, whatever those are.
The
In the Animorphs.
sparkles?
Yeah, but they're not just sparkles. It's like a circle with points around it. At least on Seeropedia, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, sure. It's literally just a shiny thing.
look at
Like
look
it's
at
not a symbol.
Seeropedia. So you see if maybe it's different. Maybe Seeropedia is showing me something different. All right, it's just sent you that's going to take 10 minutes to send. I sent you a picture of the cover so you can see what I'm looking
Yeah, I
at.
mean, yeah, I see what you're. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. What? It's like a little star or something.
It's. Why would you expect him to put some kind of like sparkle design on it and not have it look like anything?
Well, I don't know. It could just be like shiny. They didn't have to put little icons. I feel like I'm
Do you
wondering if that's like, oh, those are the stars
do
in the
you look
sky
at
they
your
look
like
at.
birthday wrapping paper and you see the little like the holographic things that flicker out and you're like, what do these squares represent here? I don't know what
Listen,
this pattern
what
is.
this is 30
Like sometimes
episodes
I have
in.
birthday cakes on it, but this time it's just little shapes. What are they? Are they
This
presents?
far into our show, you're now going to chastise me for overanalyzing the cover art. This
We
is
haven't
what
gotten
we
to the
do.
cover art yet. I just want
This
you,
is
I
our
just want to make it
fucking
very
bread
clear.
and butter
We
on
haven't
this show.
even gotten to the cover art.
Yes, because I wanted to address the icons on the banner. I think it's relevant information.
All right. Well, you think they're icons, and I do not think they're icons.
They are clearly. It's an image. It's a thing. It's a picture. It's not just a shape. It's a clear thing. And I'm also curious. I'm going to count how many there are because I want to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Jesus Christ.
7, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to say 25 plus with some on the edges that you can't see the full one of. So that's a nice number.
Good.
Now,
Yeah,
is the Hork-Bajir Chronicles also shiny or just that top part?
the Hork-Bajir Chronicles is also shiny, and it's got that same kind of thing going on.
I love that. Also, is this the first time that's a new font? I think the Hork-Bajir.
Yeah, it is a new font.
It's looks a
interesting.
little Middle Eastern kind of inspired.
Yeah, it's strange because Hork-Bajir don't have writing. So you'd think that if they like made a new font, they'd do it for some species that wrote, so that you would think, oh, maybe this is what their written language looks like.
Huh.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they did have to invent these fonts, right? Like somebody made that font, unless it's a pre-existing one they just used. But like the Animorphs logo font, I'm pretty sure is unique.
Yeah, I think it is, but I am not a font expert.
And okay, I don't know. What do you want to say? The art itself, it's an Andalite and a Hork-Bajir staring at us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna assume it's Aldrea and Dak Hamee, but I don't know if that's confirmed.
Yeah, that I think that's pretty confirmed.
Which a bit of a twist. I didn't expect that to be a lady Andalite on the cover.
Ooh,
But
yeah,
we'll get
no,
into that later.
you can see she's a little bit less like stocky.
It explains why I well, I'll wait until later to say whether or not I wanted to fuck this Andalite. I don't know. I don't know what joke was funnier there. If I said I more or less wanted to fuck it, I think Aldrea's probably not of age.
Joke, right? Joke, yes.
Yeah. We'll get to the fucking. I mean,
listen. We will get to some fucking in this book. There is some serious sexual energy in this book, but it's. I mean, it is kind of this Hork-Bajir here, like staring straight on. I feel like you are not what's the word for it when it's like straight on and not in profile? You know what I mean? But the point is that is like not how I ever imagine looking at Hork-Bajir, and it's very strange for that to be like the first Hork-Bajir you ever see.
Was this the first illustration of one? No,
Uh,
well, we saw its
was
foot.
there? Yeah, there was a foot.
So
I
there
can't
had to
think of any
be.
other ones.
Maybe not in a book, I guess, but I feel like there must have been promo art, but maybe not.
Yeah, I
You know,
don't
the same
know.
way we found that weird picture of Axe from an earlier book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can look. I'm just not aware of any other Hork-Bajir pictures.
Yeah, you're probably right, at least officially. I just wonder if maybe they had internal concepts. Like they're described so much.
Hmm.
And I had seen these pictures, so that's what I kept picturing. But yeah, it is sort of that thing of like on The Simpsons or certain cartoons where you never really see them straight on, like the way they're
Hmm.
designed, and then when you do, you're like, "What the fuck? Their nose looks like that." That's not
Yeah,
what they're supposed to look like.
yeah.
I mean, it is like, are they supposed to have beaks? Looks like it's got a beak.
They sure do have like beak-ish things, and I think they
He's
are
very bird-like.
described. I'm trying to remember if they're described like that or if they just have them. I know when when I drew Horkbert in the style of Scott Adams, I did give him a beak. So,
um, yeah, yeah, it's strange. It's not honestly the Hork-Bajir. I don't always have a very clear picture of them in my head. I have a picture for sure, but it sort of shifts
mhm.
sometimes because it's like how many spikes do they have and where exactly are they on their body? I don't know. Um,
We'll
okay.
talk about that a little more. Now, this other picture that's either
Oh,
inside or
I
on the back, depending on which version you have.
okay. Boy, we're really
This is
jumping ahead. But
oh,
go
what
ahead.
you don't want to? Oh no, if you have more to say about, because I was
No,
gonna
we
say
can
this
come.
is a much fuller, like more reasonable picture of a Hork-Bajir. This is like more what you expect them to look like, because
Yeah,
you're
so the
seeing them fully
inside
in profile. You're
cover,
seeing the full massive body.
yes. This is quite a large, uh, very. I don't know. I think the background is very well done. I guess it's the Hork-Bajir planet
Hmm.
looking orange. I don't know that okay. So the Hork-Bajir, I got to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I pictured them in my head. You know what you know what I just realized?
Uh oh. What have you been doing?
No, basically I've had a picture in my head that's sort of like an amalgamation of things, and I just made the connection I realized of what I think I've actually been picturing.
Uh oh.
And it's gonna it's gonna make you laugh. I think what I've been more or less picturing in my head is something akin to, this is really for you, Will, and maybe some listeners, the first form of Cell from Dragon Ball Z. You see where I'm the
I
imperfect Cell.
yeah, no, I see it. I see it.
Like that kind of is basically
That's
I've been
that's
picturing
not
them
that far
much.
off.
It's not that far off, but I've been picturing them much more humanoid. Like this picture has their leg shapes and tail and
Mhm.
stuff are much bigger and weirder than I've been picturing.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, the tail is much larger, and they've got that sort of I, what is it? It's not a backwards knee. It's like a raised ankle or something that like a dog would have. Except they also have a regular. Like I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got that sort of thing going on here.
Yeah, I have definitely never. I have only been picturing like humanoid legs that go forward. You know.
Although I think if I look in the background at the Hork-Bajir climbing the tree, like way in the background, I'm not sure they
Oh, look
have.
at
They
that.
look like they have more human legs, which makes sense
Yeah.
because you would you would actually expect Hork-Bajir limb morphology to be very similar to humans since they are arboreal. You like some of those
Right.
words I pulled out there?
Yeah, and I pretended to understand them.
But yeah, I mean, like if you're taking something that's like designed to climb and swing in the trees, but then it also is walking on the ground, it should be fairly similar to a human, like just because that's what we did.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. This looks much more alien than I was thinking,
Hmm.
which is cool. I mean, it's an awesome depiction. It looks really cool.
Yeah. No, I do really love this picture.
I think I've kind of said this before, but this looks to me like you could pull this book out of a sci-fi old
Hmm.
section of a library, like find a 70s sci-fi book, and you would see this kind of image. That's what it evokes to me. Like it looks very
Hmm.
old school, retro kind of.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
book would be even more insane to pull out of a sci-fi thing because, you know, in the Andalite Chronicles, you'd be like, oh, and then of course they capture some humans, so we get to see the human. In this book, you'd just be like, there's no humans. Like, fuck off. There's a centaur, there's a giant
Yeah.
monster, there's no humans.
Which I think I like a lot so far.
I do really enjoy it.
Now, the elephant in the room here we haven't talked about is just how fuckable these
Yes.
things are drawn.
Oh yes. Oh yes. You know, Aldrea is here. She's got this like kind of dainty stance to her legs. She's holding her arms up. She's very delicate like and Dak here, he's like looking powerful and imposing. He's like stretching out his arms. Like there's and we haven't even like when we someday an hour in get into the first part of this book, there's going to be some sexual energy. Trust me, we're not even close to peak sexual energy yet. This book gets way hornier.
We haven't even begun. Yeah, I mean the part of the actual cover that I didn't get to, but it's also here. Just look at the Hork-Bajir's fucking neck. Is so
Oh yeah.
thick and veiny. It's got his neck has abs. Do you see that?
Yes, I do see that. Yeah.
It's got neck abs. It's got like a 12 pack on his throat.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. That's another thing. Their neck. I did not think they had long necks like that at all. I don't know if I just
remember how
missed
often
this.
they said it.
Yeah, like did I just gloss over these sections and not pay attention or
Yeah,
what?
I mean,
I don't.
the problem is that I read this so early, like not that many months into my Animorphs fandom, and so I'd seen this art, and so even if I wasn't quite always lining it up with this picture, like in my head, I'm like, I know they have long necks. So like, if they ever said it even once, I'd be like, well, yeah, it says it all the time or whatever.
They're in like every book from the
Yeah.
beginning, so it must be like it's not like they don't describe them. They do.
But you're imagining them with long heads instead because you're imagining them as Cell.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? I like it better that way, I think. Yeah, they're very intimidating figures. I'm both terrified and aroused by them.
Yeah, intimidating. Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty wild. They're wild. They're wild looking things. And like I said, I didn't know this was a female Andalite. So I also like. I don't know that I would say. Did you use the word dainty?
I probably did. Her like stance, I think. Yeah, for like, so look at how her legs are. See, like she's not standing like power stance, right? She's kind of got that bend to her knee.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
she's just so like muscular and toned.
Yeah. I would
God, they
toned
really,
is
like,
definitely the word I'm going
the
for
buttocks.
I mean, yes, the artist here went out of their way to make sure that like you could see whatever like the detail in the buttocks. Like the artist here was thinking some things. Not me. That's not me putting that on here. I'm normal.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I gotta cool off for a minute. Jesus. Yeah, but I don't know why the cover. Look, it grabs your attention right away. I think it's effective. It's weird. You want to know what the fuck these things are. It does look a little bit like it's their mugshot or something.
Yeah.
But I kind of love. I mean, this is not really that, but I like sometimes when a cover of something isn't necessarily representative of what's in the book, or like the Thing poster, which is not really like I'm pretty sure Drew Struzan drew that poster for the movie The Thing without having seen the movie. Like it's just, but it's just so fucking cool that you're like, yeah, sure, that's The Thing. So that, like, I don't know, that's kind of fun from that perspective. It's just like, make a cover that's awesome. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I do actually think though that this doesn't fall into that category because like
Yeah.
this scene at the back is just like in the book, and having them with their mugshots on the front is sort of thematically appropriate as we get later and later into the book.
Reminds me, you know what, a little bit, not to, I don't want to date the podcast, so I'm going to be vague, but
Yeah,
not a little,
honestly, this is a Forever Alone podcast.
a little, thanks. A little reminiscent of a certain other mugshot we've seen recently. Don't you think? It's...
Yeah, okay, yeah. And yeah, sure, yeah.
I should have made that tweet. Oh, well.
Oh, you still could.
Yeah,
but you could make a what do they call them on Blue Sky now? That
I think they call them blues skies.
Sure. You could make a sky.
Okay, I was talking about Donald Trump, by the way. Okay, let's. You ready to talk about the book?
Yeah, I think I am ready to talk about the book here.
Okay, good. We're right on schedule.
Am I? Was there a dedication in this one? No, there wasn't. Or there was.
Holy shit!
It's the normal one.
Does your book show Kay Applegate turning into a lion?
So I had a little secret. I had more to talk about, but I was gonna save it for next episode, so we didn't go for like a full hour.
All right.
But
okay.
Yes,
let's
it does.
Okay,
little
let's save
teaser. It sure does show Kay Applegate turning into a lion.
Okay, I just saw this on Seeropedia. We'll save that.
Yeah, a little teaser for the listeners. You thought you'd heard, after a half hour we'd be done talking about the cover, but we are not.
Yeah, and I'd like just listeners, please write in what you think about those icons on the banner. That's all.
And please send in your erotic fan fiction.
Oh, please. Fan art? Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. Whew.
All right. So, Tobias, remember that guy? He's not from the regular story. So we open up in the prologue with Tobias. And he is restless one night, so he goes to visit the Hork-Bajir Valley, which might be the first time they've done that, but I don't know. We'll think about that. But when he goes there, it's not just Jera Hamee and Ket Halpak. There's over a dozen free Hork-Bajir here now, and he also sees I don't know if they're Kawatnaj. I don't remember if we decided that meant kid or sex or what, but he sees the Kawatnaj swinging through the trees as well. And so the Hork-Bajir are all sitting around a fire, and they are getting ready to tell a story for the night, and they invite Tobias to join them. It's the story of the Hork-Bajir War, passed down to Jera Hamee by his father from his grandfather. And so Jera Hamee tells the story, and he tells it in this sort of semi-spiritual way where hearing it kind of puts Tobias into a trance, right? Like as though he were really there. And that's the framing device for this story. This book is the story that Jera Hamee tells. So intro here.
There's a lot to discuss already.
There is a lot, yes, 100%.
There's a lot going on in this book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they say Kawatnaj in this book.
They do not.
I don't think it means kid. I don't know if it means sex. It might mean just pregnancy or something, or act of birth. I don't feel like it means kid, but I could be wrong. That's my I know in the last book we talked about that already, but
I believe we will get no further information on the correct translation of Kawatnaj.
I'm surprised. Not many Hork-Bajir words in part 1 have come up. They don't really. The way they did in that other book where they were kind of having fun teaching you vocab.
Yeah, no, they kind of just translate everything for you in this book, so it's all what they needed to do is write this entire book like in Hork-Bajir ease.
Yeah, they did need to do that.
If this were a movie, I would want it all in Hork-Bajir ease with like subtitles.
Well, they basically do. We're kind of. Yeah, no, I was like, oh, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Then I looked, oh no, I just have so many notes. It's still this same section. um, they do the thing that like the movie Valkyrie does, or Avatar: Way of Water also did it, where they're speaking a different language, and then gradually the subtitles they just transition to English, and you just are like, okay, I just understand what they say.
Now that for me, I that was a thing for Avatar: Way of Water specifically, where I was really excited for an entire movie in Na'vi because it is a robust enough language to do that. But I fully understand why they didn't do that.
Well, in the first movie, there's a lot of Na'vi because you're not a part of the culture yet.
Right. No, and I get it. I just feel like you should, you shouldn't have to have them speak English to be part of the culture. It should be on you to go learn some Na'vi, and then,
Right.
Anyway.
So do we think this is the first time, like, since Tobias regularly checking in on this place?
It feels like he is regularly checking in. And when I read this book as a kid, not having read all the other books, I assumed he had been back here several times. But I don't now that going through it, it's like, did we ever see this place in between book 13 and now? I don't think we did.
No, I don't think I think they made a couple references to it.
Yeah, like they talk about it,
but yeah, not as much as I would have wanted them to.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, as you said, a dozen or more free Hork-Bajir now living here.
Yes.
How did they get freed? Do we have any? Do they talk about this? Do they go into this?
We will find out.
Okay.
But not yet.
Okay. But my assumption is that now that I guess they've been continuing, they're like freedom fighters. They're trying to sneak them out or something. My assumption is not that Aldrea Hamee and Ket Halpek have just been fucking and then their babies have been fucking.
Yeah.
I hope. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's how Hork-Bajir do it. I don't know. But
there are some weird things with the timeline of this kid, where this kid can't be more than like a year old at this point. But I don't know. Where it feels like Hork-Bajir grew up a little bit faster.
They say that they specify that Hork-Bajir have shorter lifespans than humans, and therefore they like mature faster.
Okay.
I don't know how much shorter, but
that all makes sense.
Say. Baby Hork, kind of like Baby Yoda.
Baby Hork is a lot like Baby Yoda. I wanted... Baby Hork is so much like Baby Yoda. I wanted to save this for later, but I'm just going to say it right now. Baby Hork is my favorite character in Animorphs. So, a lot like Baby Yoda in that respect.
Only on this podcast will you hear the phrase, Baby Hork is a lot like Baby Yoda. We haven't... Okay, so now, this is fascinating because we don't spend any time with Baby Hork in this section, really.
No, we don't, but we do actually find out something about Baby Hork, although it's a little bit hidden, which is we find out whether Baby Hork is a boy or a girl here. They hide it. Because when they're describing Baby Hork, they say that Baby Hork has 2 horns on its head, which means that she's a girl.
Oh, but they don't say that. You just know that? No.
In book 13, they asked the difference, and Ket Halpek said 2 horns on the head is a girl. And if you look back at the cover, you'll see Dak Hamee has 3 horns because he's a guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they sneak that in there for you.
That's a good catch. Yeah. Also, again, I'm now like horns. Yeah, there's 3 horns It's so weird seeing them look at you straight on. I don't like it. Okay. We're not talking about the cover anymore. We're off the cover. Okay. I'll keep talking. Feel free to stop me whenever you want. The next thing that I have, it kind of is a running theme of this entire first section. So we don't have to dwell on it. Maybe. Now. Yeah. Tobias remarks amusingly to me that I believe the exact quote is, in fact, I'm pretty positive it is, that Hork-Bajir are not exactly the geniuses of the galaxy. Which is amusing to me because if you'll recall, on at least 2 separate occasions, Cassie has said that horses are not exactly the geniuses of the animal kingdom. So
the Hork-Bajir.
Hork-Bajir. Well, this is a turn of phrase that Kay Applegate likes, which I think is funny. But this book has... until this book, I don't know that I ever really thought of Hork-Bajir as being dumb. And this book seems to really want to tell me that Hork-Bajir are dumb. I just thought like they're not good at speaking English. But according to this book, they have the minds of 4-year-olds.
Yeah, I feel like the minds of 4-year-olds is not the best way to describe it, although I think the book does explicitly describe it that way. I think of them more as like if you were to look at like they're more intelligent than this potentially, but if you were to look at a gorilla and say that like a gorilla has the mind of like a 4 or 5-year-old or something, you'd be like, yeah, that might be true for like analytical reasoning skills, but like for emotional intelligence, they might be like they're not gonna like, you know what I mean, like have a meltdown or be unable to be an individual or whatever,
or have empathy.
Yeah, and I feel like that would be a better comparison for Hork-Bajir, is that they're more. I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but like that level of intelligence isn't there in the same way necessarily.
Yeah, and I think that comes across in the books, but it's also, we're seeing this from the perspective first of Tobias, who's just like a kid, and then from Andalites who just like think they're hot shit.
Yeah, kind of obnoxious.
So everyone's kind of being condescending to the entire race of Hork-Bajir.
Yeah, and I do have a little bit more to say about that with respect to Dak Hamee as we go on here. We'll see some of that, but because I think he also has opinions with regards to how dumb his people are.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. So there's a couple things here. One thing that I'm looking at here in the beginning. Now, I remember in book 11, right, we met a thing from the Hork-Bajir world, a Lerdathak.
Please refresh my memory on this.
There was like a big monster thing.
Oh, Visser 3 turns into it?
Yeah, Visser 3 turns into it, and it's from the Hork-Bajir world. And I believe that was the point, or at some point, it might have been then, it might have been some other point, I teased to you that in this book there was going to be something called a Jubba Jubba. And I remember you were very excited by the Jubba Jubba.
And I was just as excited here when he says, story of Jubba Jubba.
Yeah, now I like this because, Tobias is not that excited about, what kind of stories Hork-Bajir are going to tell. He's like, oh boy, this is not. And so they're trying to hype him up on it. And Ket Halpak says, oh, story of Father Deep, story of Mother Sky. And some other Hork goes, story of Jubba Jubba. And Tobias is not like you, because Tobias was not sold on this.
How amazing is it that Tobias is like, oh, great. This race of aliens that secretly lives here and has come from other planets and has a story that spans lifetimes. Oh, I guess I gotta listen to this shit. I could be out in a tree watching squirrels. Like, what the fuck do you have going on, Tobias, that's so much more entertaining than this?
Yeah, right. And the Horks respect him. Like, there's a thing in this. They kind of make a point of it here, where the Hork-Bajir think of him. He's like their George Washington type. They're like, oh yeah, Tobias, the hero who led us to our valley. We love you, Tobias.
Yeah,
Listen
that's
to
true.
story of Jubba Jubba. I do like that Hork-Bajir there. That Hork-Bajir there actually does kind of feel like a little kid, because like, as you may have noticed from the fact that there's not really any Jubba Jubba yet in part one, I don't know that you would really describe this as story of Jubba Jubba. Like, that kind of feels like where you'd be like, ooh, what book should I read you tonight? And kid's like, the one with the Jubba Jubba in it. And the Jubba Jubba's in one chapter, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, we'll read the Jubba Jubba story.
Just like
Jabba Jabba.
we're gonna watch Empire Strikes Back, story of Wampa.
Oh yeah, story of Wampa.
Yeah, I guess there's a Wampa in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jubba Jubba, I'll just say, is exactly like it. I mean, it's a 1-to-1 comparison. There's Conan O'Brien. I know this from like
1-to-1 comparison with Conan O'Brien.
Just hear me out. I know this from stories of
Yeah.
like the Simpsons writers' room and stuff from DVD commentaries, not firsthand experience, but like one of his things is he just loves making up goofy words. He has like if you ever watch old late night episodes, he has a mug that has all these weird little words on them that he made up, and one of them is Jub Jub. And in the Simpsons, they actually, Patty and Selma have a pet lizard named Jub Jub because of that. So Jubba Jubba, it just sounds like a funny nonsense word that like Conan would make up. So I like it.
Yeah. It's a really good name.
Jubba Jubba.
Jubba Jubba. I don't know if is there anything else here that we really need to talk about other than Jubba Jubba.
Covered most of my points. Yeah.
I think. Oh yeah, I did want to take what Tobias thinks a Hork-Bajir story might look like, where he thinks it might be Yerks come bad fighting, Yerks win, we lose.
He's fucking racist.
Thanks, Tobias. Yeah, it's not. I mean, that's the thing about racism and bigotry, right? Is that it doesn't stop with just the birds. If somebody is a bigot in one respect, they're likely a bigot in more respects too.
Well, the Hork-Bajir, as we said, looks pretty bird-like on this cover, so maybe
that's
Tobias
true.
Just like they might as well be fucking Jays, these assholes.
Tobias loves Hork-Bajir, though. Some of his best friends are Hork-Bajir.
That's right. So, now let's get into this story now, which somehow gives us the POV of multiple different characters. Their thoughts.
That actually is kind of explained by the end, so don't worry.
Okay.
I do love. It's one of my favorite things to just go and be like, how did they know about the parts they weren't there for? Because it's so obnoxious and it's always applicable. But like here, I think it does work.
Okay. All right,
eventually. All right. So. Andalite date, year 8561.2. Yerk date, generation 685 mid-cycle. Hork-Bajir date, early warm. Earth date, 1966. All right. So
we could do an entire episode on those 4 lines.
I have a lot of notes on them. Okay. Anyway, we're starting off. There's a young Andalite girl. Her name is Aldrea Iskillian Fallon, and she is the daughter of Prince Seerow. Remember Prince Seerow from Seerow's Kindness and Seeropedia? Yeah, bad prince. But so she's young at this point, and who bursts in but Alaran Senator Koras, and you remember Alaran, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, he bursts in angrily because he's here to inform Prince Seerow of what has just happened. Right, the Yerks have betrayed them, and a rebel force of Yerks has killed his warriors and stolen ships, and he's got holograms to prove it. And the Yerks, after stealing the ships, they touched down and they took on board around 250,000 additional Yeerks and then jumped into Z space. So the Yeerks have betrayed them and they've headed off. So Alaran relieves Seerow of duty for the mental defect of stupidity. And in this confrontation, he coins the phrase Seerow's kindness. And so the war begins. Um, so I think immediately we have to stop. Just like every chapter, we're gonna have to stop here.
Yeah, there was a point. I mean, I still wrote down a lot of notes, but there was a point where I was just in my Kindle highlighting like every paragraph.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is one thing that I was thinking about when I decided it was acceptable to break this book into thirds, is that I was like, the thing of it is, I do want to talk about every sentence.
Well, first of all, in a larger sense, my mind is already being blown right now because
Hmm.
I don't know how specific they got into it earlier and how much I just wasn't paying attention to. But this is one of those things where, when someone goes, "Hey, if Back to the Future came out today, Marty McFly would be going back to 2015."
Hmm.
you know, he'd be listening to emo music or something.
Hmm.
Um, I did not the fact that this all happened, like seeing Alaran with Seerow. I don't know if we know that Alaran knew Seerow personally.
I don't think that we did know that. I don't
In
recall
Yeah,
ever
in
hearing
my
that.
head, I was thinking like Seerow's kindness was like, oh, that's from like a long time ago.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't.
there's a lot of stuff that gets revealed in this book as being relatively recent. I mean, I guess to kids today, it'd be like, no, that was 60 years ago, but no, it's relatively recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
because Alaran's a young guy here, this is not Prince Alaran, right? This is Alaran, he's like a warrior.
yeah, still a dick.
Still a dick.
Still just as much of a
But
dick.
you do feel more for him here because, like, you can tell in this scene that he is very much like, it's like, oh, a bunch of my friends are dead because of what you did, kind of thing. So you can see more
Yeah,
where he's coming from in this particular instance.
I guess I still kind of hate him, but
I get it.
I actually think he's fascinating because to me he is. I mean, he's not like you said. He's not without. It's not like there's no defending him. He's not
Hmm.
completely unjustified in his
Hmm.
words and actions, but I do think he's pretty unabashedly a dick. And the fact that he's, to me, pretty unlikable, but he arguably suffers one of the worst, if not the worst, fates of any character in these books.
Hmm.
So I like that it's not just like, oh, Alaran, the great wise beloved leader, how tragic that he was taken down. Like, it's just this
Hmm.
guy who was kind of an asshole, but you feel for him. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's cool.
like and from this we do know he's going to go on a trajectory where he gets like before we even start this book, we know that at some point Alaran is going to become disgraced because of his actions in this book. Like we know that that's the case. So we also know that
Mm.
like he's he has a lot more asshole things to do. But it's yeah, I agree with you. Like you can sort of see where he's coming from and why he did the things he did, even though, like, obviously they're, like, evil and he shouldn't be doing them a lot of the time. Or in this case, he's being a dick.
Yeah, he's just being a dick. That's all.
Yeah.
Um, it's sorry, I hit the table. I don't know if that made a noise.
Yeah, probably not.
Also on that subject, for a book called the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, sure are a lot of Andalites and Yerks in it. Not
Mm.
what I expected. I really thought we were going to be more pure Hork-Bajir.
Mm.
But this book is pretty much from the POV of, I would say the primary protagonist of this book so far is an Andalite.
That could be true. I do think that they are whatever. What's the word when there's two of them? I do think that Dak and Aldrea get sort of equal time on the whole.
billing.
I'm thinking like what is it? It's like
You're probably right,
deuteragonist or something.
Gesundheit. But I just think that it feels to me pretty clear that Aldrea is the Jake Sully here, and Dak Hamee is Neytiri. So like I feel like that's, even though there's no humans, to me she's the
Hmm.
self-insert character that you're, or not self-insert, it's not the right word, but
Yeah.
you know what she's the audience surrogate. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see saying if you had to pick one, it might be more Aldrea. Um,
Because we know
I
Andalites more than we know Hork-Bajir.
Yes,
So
and we do open up with her perspective, and like at the end of the day, there are going to be Andalites involved in this whole thing. So this is very much still an Andalite story. Um, yeah, but I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get to the end.
okay.
But like Dakami is very likable. Um, and when we get to Dakami, we'll talk more about that, I guess. But I don't know. We'll see. I get where you're coming
Okay.
from, though.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see how it shakes out by the end.
Yeah. On the topic of Alaran being a dick, one thing that's notable to me here is that even before all of this goes down, like before the Yerks attack, and when there's no reason to think they're anything but peaceable, there's evidence to suggest that the Andalites are already like extremely racist against the Yerks, right?
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of it. Like when you see Alaran coming in being a dick here, it doesn't feel like he's like, I was totally on board until it all went south and they murdered my guys, and then I was like, oh well, fuck these guys then. It feels like he was already like, fuck Yerks, I hate Yerks, these guys are gross, they're stupid, I don't like them, why are we helping them? And then when they attack, he goes, see, like there's like a part when they're attack in the hologram when the Yerks are attacking, and one of the Andalite warriors that they shred is all like, oh hey, make sure not to fire on those guys. Don't you know that these parasites are our brothers? Our orders are not to shoot them. All sarcastic like.
Yeah.
Like
I
they
get
do
it.
fucking. They're fucking cops. That's what they are.
Yeah. I mean, Yerks are disgusting little pieces of shit, so I get it. I don't blame him too much, but yeah, there's clearly racism there.
And I think Alaran also says to Seerow, like, I warned you this would happen. So it does feel a little bit like, anyway, like maybe if they had been a little less racist, then maybe the Yerks wouldn't have, you know what I mean? Maybe if they'd been a little less oppressive.
Possible. Maybe. Can we I need to clear up a little bit exactly what the scenario is here and what Seerow's role in all this is.
Yeah.
It's like they have a base here basically that Seerow was like, hey, there's Yerks.
We should mention this whole scene happens on the Yerk homeworld. Because I don't think I said that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have their like outpost there, and it's like the Andalites diverted resources because Prince Seerow says, hey, our new mission is to help these Yerks. Like this is what they're doing. Like they're I don't know, like the US military ostensibly like helping a poor country or something.
Yeah, we're just helping. It's a developing nation, and we want to, we just want to help make sure that their economy develops the right way.
Yeah,
and that the leaders and their government happens to be the right government.
Right. You don't want to make any mistakes.
Right.
Prime directive shit. So okay, I need to. First of all, I did clap when he said Seerow's kindness. I was like, yeah, he said it, yeah. That was great.
Yeah, it's good.
I need to reestablish here exactly what Seerow's kindness was. I'm a little fuzzy on this. I thought that the kindness was giving the Yerks access to technology or space travel specifically, but it doesn't. he doesn't give that to them. They steal it.
Yeah, in this one, he gives them like mathematics and computers and technology, but he doesn't give them space flight or weapons. They steal the weapons and then steal the spaceships.
Yeah. So is that a retcon, or do I just not
I don't.
remember?
Yeah, I don't remember what they specifically said that he gave them. We could check what they specifically said. But he does give them like the knowledge of this technology and the knowledge of how to use it and what it is and how to operate it and how to do their own stuff. Like he gives them science and mathematics and all that.
Okay, so I guess if you were summing it up, yada yada yada, you could shorthand that he essentially gave them the tools to travel the
Hmm.
universe. But it feels like that didn't happen until, well, I guess it happens right
Yeah.
here. It's when this is post shooting.
And some of this could be like propaganda retcon too, where
Mm.
if you're all like, okay, so we gave them some stuff, but then we said, all right, that's enough for you. You don't get to try. Like you have to stay on your own planet. Fuck you. We'll give you a little bit so that we seem nice because the electorate likes it when we're nice. But stick to your own spaces here. And then they say, what are you talking about? No, I want to go out there. So they steal a ship and now they're going around doing stuff. Then you turn around to the electorate and say, "See, we gave them everything they wanted. We gave them space flight. We gave them." And what did they do? They turned around and conquered with it.
Yep. If you give a Yerk a Ged, he'll ask for a computer.
He'll ask for an Ongakic, and if you give him that, he'll probably want a Hodgebron.
On Gakic. I thought I was saying Ongachik.
Could be Ongachik. I don't think
Or
there's
so,
an official pronunciation.
we haven't gotten to them yet. Or maybe we did. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. What else?
Yeah,
You want
we get a
to?
little bit of Yerk propaganda here too, because Seerow justifies himself by saying they have no history of harming intelligent life forms. The Geds are barely conscious in their natural state. It's not as if they're stealing the bodies of truly sentient creatures. They and the Geds are symbiotic, right? So he's bought into this line too.
Right.
So there's a
Yeah.
little, you can sort of see a little bit of both here, I think.
Well, I don't
Um,
know if we're supposed to. I guess it is propaganda, but I'm like, are we supposed to believe to some extent that maybe with the Geds it is symbiotic because Geds are so like dumb anyway?
I will say, even as a kid, I never believed that. I never thought that what they were doing with the Geds was okay.
Wow, I thought you were the Yerk sympathizer over there.
I
Shocked.
know, I know. Well, I'm an Aftran sympathizer, right? I'm with Aftran over here.
I have to say, if there's anything I could potentially buy,
Hmm.
I could see an argument. I don't know if it's been made or not, but I could see an argument of like, yeah, like Yerks and Geds, they're both from the same planet. I don't
Hmm.
know. Yerks evolved to do this thing, and Geds evolved to do this thing. Maybe they kind of work together if you had just left him alone.
Hmm. I do
But I
have a
don't know.
little bit of a. I feel what you're saying there for sure. I have a little
We
more
don't
to
get a
say about
Ged
that later this book
POV.
too. I know we
Okay.
need the Ged Chronicles. The whole
Yes.
book is just ook ook eek.
Ged Chronic Girls.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, oh, I skipped over talking about these time frames.
Yes,
Um,
please.
because when we go to the next section here, we're going to get an update on the time frames.
Yeah.
And what we discover if we just look at how long they all are is that Andalite years and Yerk generations are basically the same length as an Earth year because they all increment forward by 2 when we do our 2-year time skip. Um,
Right.
so that's helpful to know that the Andalite year system started 8,500 years ago. So I think we were asking earlier, how old is Andalite civilization? How much of a head start do they have on us?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
pretty concrete answer.
yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's not though, because that's actually a like if you were to date from like the very dawn of like the very beginnings of human civilization, right? Like I want to go to like or like you know what I mean, like the first
Mm.
city or like ancient
Urgh.
Sumeria. You're right, exactly. You know, we wouldn't be that far off from a year 8,500.
Yeah,
right?
probably. I'll
Uh,
take your word for it.
so like I don't. We just reset our system arbitrarily, you know, because of
Well,
Jesus,
that's not arbitrary. That's the
right?
most
But like
significant
the
cultural events.
relative to like the progression of human society, I don't really know
Sure.
exactly. Uh, like in technological progress, it doesn't correlate to that. So I don't know if their year system. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that now anymore.
I mean, there's a dot Z. I don't know what that means.
Oh, it's dot two. You're whoever did your
Oh,
thing fucked it up.
oh shit. Damn. Yeah, I thought it was like a Z space thing.
No, it's point two because Andalites are weird. They use point two instead of months, I guess.
Whatever. But
Yeah,
now the
whatever.
Yerks are even less specific because they measure in generations. Like, what is that?
Yes. Yeah, now
Is
the
that
generation. Oh no, the generation. I'm sorry, the generation actually only incremented by one. So York generation's like every 2 years,
okay?
even less because it went from mid cycle to early cycle. So maybe more like every 3 years.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, Yerk lifespans. I don't know. I'd think a generation is longer, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean that is kind of odd. Like, is there just like a breeding event that happens every couple years? So like if when Yerks have kids, it only happens at these specific times or something, and so like every 3 years we get a new quote generation unquote, even though they live much longer,
Mhm.
maybe.
But we're also like we're using that word generation from a human perspective. Like that could
Right.
mean something completely different.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to piece together is what do they mean when they say that, and I have no idea.
Hard to say.
Cause clearly we're gonna find out like Yerks in 1966 are still alive and kicking, doing fine in 1998. So
It's kind of like when you got to see young Gru when he's in the 60s.
right. Oh yeah, I love yeah. And they had their yeah.
This book's a little bit like young
Banana.
Gru.
It is a
And
lot
then
like Young Gru.
the Hork-Bajir, of course, their date
Yeah.
early
Well,
warm.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that's just a seasonal. Like their date effectively is fall, spring.
They don't have a record of history, it seems. They don't keep track of how long their species has been alive.
No, they have like stories and songs, but they don't have dates on any of them.
Again,
Like
this
they do have
feels
a history. It's just like a
insulting.
very yeah,
Yeah.
there's something to be said there for that, right? Like you could easily make a claim that this book plays heavily into like a noble savage stereotype, right?
Yeah. I mean, they
It's
were already playing with that in that
yeah.
book, the earlier book.
Yeah. It gets heavier into that here for sure.
It's just so
Um
funny seeing right next
yeah.
to this complicated dates with big numbers. Early warm.
Yeah.
Look at these fucking idiots.
Captain's log stardate 357 point whatever. Caveman's log oog. Basically what it
Yeah.
says. Anyway, yeah, we skip forward. Andalite year 8563.5. Yerk date generation 686 early cycle. Hork-Bajir date late cool and Earth date 1968. So we're 2 years later now. Seerow's family is, with Aldrea included, they're getting sent out to some backwoods primitive planet where, he can't do any harm, right? Because he's been disgraced. Um, the planet is called Sector 5 RG21578 4. Uh, and the geology of this planet is pretty important. So I'm going to describe it here briefly. So the planet has a barren, rocky surface with basically no atmosphere on it. But around the equator, there is a series of deep rift valleys. It looks as though it has been squashed and like burst open at the center, which is what happened. It got hit by an asteroid at the pole and like boom, out go the sides. You get it. The rift valleys are like as deep as like maybe 50 miles or so, and they have atmosphere in them. They're the only part of the planet that has any kind of real atmosphere that can sustain life. The rest of it's very thin. Um, and the deepest parts of these valleys are covered with a deep blue glowing mist that the Andalite sensors can't see through. Um, so the Andalites, they go to land in these valleys. They go about 30 miles in, and they are deep into this valley. And they are in an enormous forest. In these valleys, there are these forests made up of huge trees, the largest trees discovered on any planet. They range anywhere from 200 to 2,000 feet tall, with trunks 100 feet in diameter. Let me just pause again.
Big trees.
Big trees, Aldrea's family and big trees.
God, I imagine smoking one of those bad boys.
You
know what I'm saying?
I'm not a
fucking
degenerate,
lit.
so I don't.
I know, but imagine just like, holy shit!
You get like munchies for a ripe uka melon, maybe.
I do want to talk about the uka melon.
Yeah, talk about the uka melon.
Is that in this part?
Yeah, when Aldrea is describing the planet, she says it looks like it had been squashed like a ripe uka melon.
That's just the pinnacle of dumb sci-fi. You could just call it a melon. You didn't need to tell us it's an uka melon.
Uka does not sound like an Andalite word either. Uka melon sounds like it's a Hork-Bajir word.
Yes,
the uka melon grows from the fit.
Uka melon grows from the fit tree. Uka melon, yum.
See.
Oh, that's good. Anyway, this section I feel like is where we start to actually get a little more insight into who Aldrea is.
Yes. Yeah, before she was just kind of watching.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, like, okay, why is it Seerow's daughter? Why is this our way in?
Yeah.
And also, we've commented before about how there's been like no female Andalites depicted. So this is we're right in it now.
Yeah, and apparently one of the reasons she wrote this is because a lot of fans had written to her and said, "Where are all the female Andalites?"
That's funny.
She was like, "All right, I'll write a good one for you."
Yeah, well, and we learn a little bit more about the Andalite gender norms.
Yes,
which are very interesting.
Yeah, they're
very different from ours.
They are very different, but they're also very like strict. Andalites are extremely like conservative and traditional.
Well, so according to this, in Andalite society, females have two paths, basically.
Yes.
Either they're super smart scientists or they're creative artists.
Yeah, the sciences and the arts are the realm of females.
Which is interesting because in most, like, in our culture, you wouldn't usually associate, those are like opposites.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not really, but you're usually depicted like, oh, you're an artsy type or you're a book type.
Yeah, no, and I do like that. Because I don't think that that's a great dichotomy, right? Like I think there's a lot of creativity to be had within the sciences, and there's a lot of I like that there's some thought here that the Andalite scientists are maybe a little bit more, I don't know, in tune with their artistic side or whatever, or in tune with nature. Because they do describe some of the arts that they describe are grasscape designers and cloud artists.
That's right. What do we think a cloud artist is?
I was thinking like a painter, but they use clouds.
That's what they either make art with clouds or they make art of clouds. Or something. I don't know exactly what that is.
Maybe it's like a grasscape designer. Maybe it's literally just like if you imagine like a feng shui landscaper or something, but they also do it with the sky.
Yeah, it's got to be like they design, but they can't. They're not manipulating actual clouds, are they?
Sure, why not?
I guess, but like...
I mean, we
And
do
then
like
what?
chemtrails and shit.
But then they stay where they left
Sure.
them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right.
Or maybe like they set them up so they're gonna move in a certain way or something. I don't know, because they understand
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not as a male, right? I was born to be a warrior. Because of my larger tail blade. I don't know anything about this cloud.
You know who my favorite cloud artist is?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Enlighten me.
um,
I do
I don't
know who
know.
it is. I
I don't
don't
Taylor
actually know the
Swift.
name of this person, but
I was just thinking of artists that I listen to via the cloud.
oh, I thought you were gonna try to make some kind of like Final Fantasy joke about Cloud,
Oh, no, that hadn't occurred to me.
but I didn't remember who.
Yes, it's Yoko Takahura. Sorry, it's probably racist. I just made up a Japanese name. I don't know who did the art for that
Congrats.
game. Thanks. I'm fucking canceled again. God damn it.
Shit. Yeah. No, I disavow everything that my co-host has said. I will be moving forward without him from now on. I apologize. I hope you can forgive me.
Nobu. Nobu is my favorite cloud artist. That one's real. That's the composer. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
We also find out that like morphing is extremely recent here.
Yeah.
Like they I don't remember if we say until later that Aldrea can morph. But it's like a thing at this point where like most Andalites can't morph. It's not generally considered or like understood yet whether or not it's even safe. Like this is brand new cutting edge technology, which is also kind of like I do think as a kid looking at this and saying like, wait a second, Andalites have only been able to morph since the '60s. Like my parents were alive before Andalites could morph. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Like that's brand new.
Yeah, which does also kind of go some way to explaining why they don't use it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Nah, that's better explained other ways, honestly. So never mind.
Yeah, it probably ties into it. I could see that tying into
Yeah,
it
but it's not like, oh, tanks were invented in what, the 40s, 50s? Like,
earlier than that, but yeah,
yeah, or whenever they were, I guess 40s, they were kind of, was the first, like,
yeah. I don't know if you know this,
or
but in
30s.
World War
No,
II, tanks were
15?
pretty
Oh,
important.
right. Oh, yeah, I saw that movie, 1917. So I do know they were around in 1917.
Anyway, yeah, but they are relatively recent. Like they are a 20th century thing.
What are?
Tanks.
Right. You're welcome. Okay, so
Yeah, I was waiting.
yeah,
Right.
I thought I wouldn't give it to you, but then I decided to do it.
Okay.
Any what the fuck are we talking about besides how stupid I am?
Morphing being recent.
Yeah, that's something. That's something.
Yeah, I just think that that's interesting. How that is.
Yeah, it's very very new.
Yeah. This we get a lot more on Aldrea's family here. Like we get a little bit of background on all of them here. Um, there's we get to see a little bit more of Seerow here. We get to see how he's just like kind of totally beaten down, right? Like he's getting sent on these worthless missions and he's like, okay. He's the okay face and the like, honey, time to go out to a worthless planet. And so we get to see a little bit of that. And I actually think that now I'll get to that in a second. We get to meet Aldrea's mother, who is an exobiologist. And she is
Right.
loving it out here. She loves these trees. She's super excited to be here. We also meet her brother Barafin, who he's sad to be leaving home and he's mopey because all his friends are 200 light years away. And I think we'll find out later that he mostly just spends this book sitting in his room playing Andalite Call of Duty.
Barafin is me.
Barafin kind of reminds me of Loak in a way, because
Sure.
you know what I mean. Yeah, you get what I
Yeah,
mean.
sure.
Yeah,
Barafin is putting his hoof in Mountain Dew, and
yeah. Barafin is just he needed his friends back home. He's taking it
yeah,
hard.
yeah, he's funny. But Aldrea, it doesn't sound like Barafin gets made fun of, or at least Aldrea says mostly her friends make fun of her, but maybe he is do too. I don't know.
She says somewhere in there that she gets made. I think she says she gets made fun of more, but she says it hurts him more. Like I think he
Oh,
was like a real social butterfly type, and she's more the
mm.
respected loner, maybe. So like when his friends started making fun of him, it was like he didn't know what to do. That's why he sits in his room, drinks Mountain Dew,
Yeah,
crushes up Doritos.
they call her Seerow's unkindness.
Yeah, that's a vicious
Seerow's
insult for an Andalite.
Seerow's should have worn a condom.
Yeah, Andalites just don't know how to be cruel the way that human children can be. They wouldn't. If Barafin went and played human Call of Duty, he wouldn't last 2 seconds in that chat room.
That is true. That is true. Be destroyed by Andalite slurs have nothing on us. Now
Yeah.
there's a part here when she makes the walls show the windows clear, and she says transparent to the computer.
Mm-hmm.
That reminded me of what I say to my Amazon Echo when I want to watch a Jeffrey Tambor show.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I say transparent.
Yeah, right. That's pretty funny. Aldrea also has a Paka doll.
She does?
Yeah, she talks about her possession. She has a hollow of her scoop back home. She's got, or maybe they might actually say hologram. I might have just written that bad. But she's got like a hologram of her home scoop. She's got a Paka doll. And they don't tell you what a Paka doll is, but she has it. And she has Barafin's wish flower too. So you get another reference to wish flowers.
Oh yeah, which was the flower they wished on when they wanted to have him? Is what they
Yeah,
say.
yeah. So when she was doing her ritual at the wish flower for Barafin's birth, so she kept the wish flower because she loves her brother.
That's cute, but it was also I thought was kind of weird but interesting how she says we. She doesn't say my parents were hoping to have him. Like the whole
Mm.
family is having him.
I mean, Elfangor had to do wish flower rituals on the dome ship for Axe, so
Oh yeah,
yeah, no, it's a
family's
whole
important.
family thing. Yeah,
We
they're
also
herd
this
animals.
I haven't even moved past like the first page of this section.
I know.
But I just have to say also, she does say that studies have shown females are superior at morphing. So another like, oh, maybe that's part of why Cassie's so good at morphing. Like for some
Hmm.
reason, even though Rachel's not that good at it.
Yeah, Rachel's too masculine. She's too aggressive and violent. Not a
Right.
creative type. She's not in touch with her feelings. Is that
Yeah.
sexist?
No, it
Seems
was
like it.
fine.
Okay.
No, it was completely fine. Sector 5 RG215784.
Hmm.
It reminds me of a good way to catalog VHS tapes.
Oh yeah. Yes. Andalites. I feel like Andalites could be pretty good buffs, honestly, with their like
Yeah.
in-depth labeling systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Although they then later they confirm that they name planets after the main species on it.
Yes, they do confirm that they just call it the whatever world.
But I still would prefer it if Andalite planet was just called Andalite. I don't like calling it the Andalite homeworld. That's too clunky.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I feel that. Or
does this
Andal.
mean sure, something like that? So
Mhm.
do they call Earth human?
Yeah, it's interesting because like Axe calls it Earth because everybody calls it Earth, but Axe is pretty like in the culture. I could easily see like some, like oh, and then the war's over and Axe goes home and now all the Andalites, they know humans call it Earth, but they all call it the human homeworld or whatever. I could see that.
Okay, sure.
They
I'll
do.
accept it.
They do actually point out RG here stands for red giant.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. I don't know scientifically if that definitely means that the sun is red and the sky is red. The skies probably not have to be red because it's a red giant. That doesn't quite make sense to me, but maybe it is. People who actually finished their physics degree can pop into the email and tell me that. But I think you are supposed to imagine it that way, right? It's a red sun, so it's a red or orange sky or something.
Yeah, that's would be confirmed by that inside cover art.
Yeah, just good for having the visuals.
Good for having the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. And then I mean we're
Yeah,
gonna get into these Hork-Bajir.
yeah. I do want to point out this planet here, like on this. The geology of this planet is super cool to me. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever seen another planet laid out this way in sci-fi. Right? Like they do a ton of like crazy worlds, right? Like you do see that Star Wars thing all the time of this is an ocean world, this is a desert world or whatever. And you'll see worlds that have like weird shit. I mean, Hitchhikers at that planet factory had like the weirdest fucking planets. Um but yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this before where you see I don't. It's cool that it has some kind of pseudoscientific explanation behind it too. I don't know how well this actually would work as an idea, but the meteor hit and it caused these rifts to
Yeah.
form, and so only deep in the Rift Valley can life exist. It's cool.
Yes, it is quite novel to the point where it took me a while to really wrap my head around what it was.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's different. The
Yeah,
giant trees that are just
yeah.
huge.
It's neat, and it's pretty. It'll become relevant later as we get later into the book too.
Yeah, because right now it's sort of like this background detail about the
Hmm.
environment that you're not. It's not quite clear if that's important or not.
Hmm.
But or if it's just
Yeah.
if we're just like there's a it's like if you were introducing Earth and you're like and there's also the Marianas Trench. And you're
Yeah.
like okay like I
Yeah.
know it's there but like so
Yeah. But to be fair, all of this happens in the valleys. So like
yeah and
we
I
we
guess
never leave the valleys here.
right
So
yeah
um anyway, we get introduced. Let's talk about these Hork-Bajir. We're what, like an hour and a half into the podcast. Let's finally touch down on the Hork-Bajir homeworld.
of the Chronicles the titular Hork-Bajir.
We're 3 chapters in.
It's gonna speed up. It's gonna speed up.
We'll get there. Okay. So we get introduced to Dak Hamee. He is a Hork-Bajir,
We better
but
make
he
this
is
4 parts. No, go on.
he is different. You see, Dak Hamee is a seer. So Dak is super smart even by like human standards instead of dumb like most Hork-Bajir are because he is a seer. The elders at the tribe tree, Mab Kahet, Ponto Fala, and the old one Tilafashet, I guess, they have said that Father Deep and Mother Sky send the people a seer when there is need. But Dak does not yet know why he is the seer. We also meet Jaggle Hulan, Dak's
Hullen?
friend. Hullen? I don't like that. That sounds too normal. uh, and one day, Dak sees an egg with branches come down from Mother Sky. And he sees it must be a sign from Mother Sky because this thing is different and he is different. So he goes to it. And there's a little bit of back and forth, but he eventually goes up to it with Jaggle. I love Jaggle, and he meets Aldrea. He meets Aldrea and her family because this is her spaceship touching down, and so he's this is clearly what he's here for, right? He must show his people the way. So after they speak enough to get the universal translator working, he has a conversation with Aldrea, and she tells him a bunch of stuff. Like she tells him that oh, Mother Sky's flowers, well, they're actually other suns with other planets, and she comes from there. And this totally blows Dak's mind, right? He's like freaking out, and he's like, I need to learn everything I can from her. So, here's Dak.
Here's Dak.
Here's Dak. Dak might be my second favorite Animorphs character.
Wow.
I love Dak.
Okay. Yeah, Dak Hamee, he pretty much literally says, I'm not like other girls.
Yes.
Which,
yes, he does.
There's another line earlier that's very similar that said, I forget, I think it was maybe Jera said that about Dak or something. There's like two parts where they have this very much strong, I'm not like other girls energy.
He's different.
Yeah.
That's the phrase. Dak is different.
The way I would characterize it is that Dak Hamee is rectangular.
Yes, I think you're right.
He fills no hole.
He feels no hole. That's right.
That's everyone listening knows exactly what I mean when I say that.
Yeah, there's not one person in this world is unaware of his rectangularity. This part here, this whole section, and I really like this, it switches from like this Andalite perspective to this Hork-Bajir perspective. And even though Dak is a seer, he doesn't have the context to do, like he's living in a Hork-Bajir society. So he's got that as his basis. So the language of this chapter simplifies down to an extreme extent. Like it's very like short, simple, repetitive sentences, like a Hork-Bajir would say.
Right.
Like and in the intro where he's describing like the tribe tree, like his mother goes I love the repetition of the phrase "he is different," where he's like, my mother went to them and said, my son is different, and the elder said, yes, he is different, he is a seer, and his mother said, yes, he is different. It's good.
Yeah, it is funny. I also like when he draws a picture of Jaggle and he's like, that's you. And he's like, that's not me.
Yeah. Jared's like, what are you talking about, man?
You just made some mark. Like, what the fuck?
Jaggle is great. I think Jaggle is Dak's bro. I think they're best friends, and I think they love each other, and I think they hang out all the time, and I want stories of Jaggle and Dak's exploits before this thing begins. Like, as a kid, that was very much, I was just like, yeah, Jaggle and Dak, they're bros forever, man. That's why they went over here together.
That is so funny to imagine you as a kid really latching on to Dak and Jaggle.
Dak and Jaggle. They're like Juan and Terry.
Damn it, I was going to say that. Stole it from me. Now, okay, so Aldrea meets Dak here, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And this was my first note after they met was, are Aldrea and Dak going to fuck?
You'll just have to read the story to find out.
I mean, it is like immediately there's clearly something going on here.
Yeah, no, he describes her almost immediately as a delicate stranger. It's just a little.
And then, of course, my next question is, because this is not our first interspecies relationship. This is not too different from Elfangor and Lauren.
Right, we've already seen aliens fuck each other, so.
But we haven't seen unmorphed aliens fuck each other. So that's my question right now, which I don't want or expect you to answer, is if they're gonna fuck, is she gonna fuck him as a Hork-Bajir or not?
You just have to read the book to find out.
I will say, I like that they both have special trees, by the way, Andalites and Hork-Bajirs. That's nice. They're both tree-centric cultures.
They've got the Garibas, whereas Hork-Bajir have all their other trees
and whatever else. Again, relating back to Andalite Chronicles, I like that so far this is a much more measured introduction. Andalite Chronicles is like spaceships and fight scenes and new alien races like every 3 pages and just crazy fucking action happening all the time. And this book, this part is, I don't even know if there's any. Is there an action scene in this book? Really, it feels like a lot of nice,
There are
calm.
there are action scenes in this book, but like not very much until we get toward the climax of the book.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Like
like
this
yeah,
set,
it's very, you are right. Like the intro is very peaceful here.
it's nice.
Yeah, there's I mean, it's a note that I have a little bit later on, but like God, everything about this book, just I immediately come back to James Cameron's Avatar. But like this very much is a lot more like that, where it's like, listen, we got to have all the montages of Jake meeting Neytiri and learning about Na'vi culture and doing
Nice
all this other stuff.
pronunciation.
Yeah, no, I pronounce my Na'vi
You
properly.
fucking dork.
And we got to have all that before, before the sky people come in and blow up the spirit tree and Awa has heard you and all that stuff. That's for the end.
Yeah, yeah. Do you
Yeah.
do you go out for Mexican food and you're like, I'd like the huevos rancheros?
No,
like,
because I don't respect
okay.
I don't respect real cultures, only
Ooh.
Alien cultures.
Okay, it was real. I was a little dicey. I did not know where that sentence was headed. I was scared for
Yeah.
you.
Don't worry. I tiptoe the line.
You sure do. That's what we do here. Right. Anyway, yes, it's very Avatar. Well, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
come back to that, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Is it just me, or is Mother Sky kind of a MILF?
I don't know. Is it just you? I mean, how about this? Justify your statement.
No.
Okay. Well then, okay. How about this? Is Father Deep kind of a daddy?
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say DILF.
Yeah.
I think Father Deep might be a zaddy.
Oh, Daddy Deep.
Mommy Sky and Daddy Deep.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now I also think that at this point, Dak is he's kind of going through what the Animorphs go through in book 1. He's
Yeah.
discovering there's an entire world beyond what he knows.
Yeah. Although his is not coming with the immediate trauma of Aldrea being eaten by a giant monster.
That's correct, and we're going to see that paralleled soon. So we'll get to that. But I do think that if you told Dak tail feathers grow back, his mind would be blown.
It's possible, yeah.
I think he would love that. I think
he would, yeah.
I think he would think about that for months.
Yeah. Yeah, Jera probably thinks about that because he knows Tobias.
Tail feathers grow back.
Yeah. And Jaggle would probably be even more. I like when they're describing, like, oh, well, the Mother Sky's flowers, they look small because they're far away. And Dak's like, oh, shit, that's actually, yeah, because things do look smaller when they're far away, so they could be suns. And Jaggle responds, far is far. And he's like alarmed. It's great.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was saying it like I almost read it as him being like that's crazy talk. Like, listen, far is far. Okay, there's no more. We don't need to go deeper than that. Far is far.
That could be. Yeah, no, Jaggle. I don't think Jaggle really grasps this concept.
Yeah, but all that stuff is fun. I like him having his mind blown.
It's good. It is quite good. You do have to feel kind of sorry for Dak, right? Like, they do make it clear right here that he probably does feel extremely alone, right? Like, even with his buddy Jaggle, it's just like, yeah, nobody really gets him.
He's wobbly-headed Bob.
He's rectangular. But it makes sense that he kind of gets obsessed with Aldrea right off the bat, because it's like, oh shit, someone I can talk to? Like, like when I'm like, how high is the sky? She'll be like, oh yeah, interesting question. I can answer that, as opposed to, sky is high. Mother Sky very high.
But this is like, it's still kind of like if I were the only if I were me and I lived on a planet of people who were just like 8-year-olds,
Mhm.
and then I met a really smart person, I'd still be a lot dumber than them.
Mhm. Well,
I'd just be
but he
like,
can learn. Like I
hmm,
do think they make a point here of being like Dak is legitimately just smarter than any human, and so he didn't like when Aldrea teaches him this shit, he just eats it up. He's just like, oh yeah, no, 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 that's true, that's true, that's true, in a way that a human might not be able to grasp.
yeah, that's fair. They don't exactly have an education system here.
Yeah. Well, they kind of do. We'll see, but
Oh,
not
yeah,
like a
that's true.
human one. Yeah.
Right, they kind of do. Okay, I feel
All
like it's
right.
Yerk time.
It is Yerk time. We're going to meet Esplin 9466. I say meet here, but we already know who Esplin 9466 is. Uh,
Yes. Now I'm not gonna
you
lie, I didn't remember that name.
okay? I was actually I was pausing to see if you were like, yeah, I know who that is. No,
I
no.
I did figure it out mostly from the fact that he's mentions being a twin,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
No,
I was 50-50. I thought this might be Visser 1.
Hmm. Yeah, no, we know that Esplin 9466 is Visser 3 or his twin, but since he's the primary and not the lesser, he's Visser. This is Visser 3.
Yes, it is not. It's not like I don't know if it's supposed to be. Like, did she assume kids reading this would remember that name, or I guess you kind of? I'm sure later it'll become very explicit, but at this point, I don't know if it's supposed to be a little bit like, oh, who is it? I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
hard to say. I'm like positive when I read this book I knew who this was. And I don't know if it was because I already knew the name from the other books or if it was because the marketing was just like Baby Visser 3's
Hmm.
in this book. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe this is
Uh
the inside cover or
yeah,
something.
hard to say. But yeah, we're running into Baby Visser 3. He is about to do his first practice infestation. He's never been outside his body before, and he's on board one of the stolen Andalite ships. Um, so he gets into this Ged, and he fucking loves it. He feels like he's like a super being. But then his 15 minutes in the Ged is up, and he has to go back to the pool. Um, there are so few hosts because they have almost no hosts in a 250,000 York. So he knows he's kind of got to be like really good. He's got to be the best at something so that he'll be assigned a host. And so he's like scouring the end of like computers for some way to be useful because he knows he's like, yeah, I'm not very smart. I'm never going to be like a scientist or whatever. I don't get that shit. But he realizes, oh, if I become an expert on Andalites and like Andalite culture and all that, then someday I'll be useful because we're going to have to fight the Andalites someday. So this is the beginning of Visser 3. It's baby Visser 3.
It's the start of his obsession,
It is the start of his obsession. We can start seeing him
which
become, yeah.
I have to say, maybe part of the reason I thought this might be Visser 1 is because he seems extremely logical and
Hmm.
cool headed right now.
Yes, I have the word cool-headed in my notes.
Wow.
Actually,
Yeah.
yes. No, he does. Um, it's so hard. I was having this conversation with someone in real life the other day. It is very difficult to talk about Visser 3 as a character arc without having read this book. Because like every other place you see him, you're just like, yeah, he's just an insane villain caricature. And in this book, they like give him a character and the through line from this book to Andalite Chronicles, there's something there. And then the through line from Andalite Chronicles to him being a screaming G.I. Joe villain, I don't know that that's really there anymore. So like,
Mhm.
it's almost like every time you want to talk about Visser 3 as a character, you come back to this book because there's like meat here, because he's like a person. And then you try to make it work in the context of his character in the books. But yeah, it does seem like he starts off a lot more cool-headed, and like as he grows up, he becomes more and more unhinged, for sure.
Now, am I assumed, because I don't remember that the book Visser is about Visser 3.
We
Do we
don't.
want to?
We haven't read Visser yet. I can't tell you what
I
that's about.
Okay, well, because now I'm like, oh, maybe that's about Visser 1. If we're kind of getting the Visser 3 here. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's a ways off.
It is a ways off.
Anyway, yes, yeah, and like I said again, we're just getting the tip of the iceberg here for Visser
Yeah.
3. So I don't know. I'm wondering how I'm going to feel about it all by the end of the book, but.
Hmm.
And like I said earlier, I feel like this is the parallel where both Esplin, as we'll call him, and Dak are both having these revelations that there's a bigger world beyond what they know.
Hmm.
And for Dak, it's finding out about space travel and stuff. But for Esplin, it's like, oh, I can
Yeah.
see. There's not just a
Like sight,
pool.
a body. Yeah, and it's interesting because we find it like Esplin is like a baby here, right? Because
Yeah.
like this is not more than 2 years post the Yeerk Rebellion, and they say that Esplin was born on the ship. Esplin has never lived on the Yeerk homeworld. He was born in an artificial little teeny baby tank under a portable Kandrona. And this is the only like he doesn't know the old pools.
Yeah, I love. He's like the old Yerks are always talking about. Back in my day, you had to
Yeah,
walk uphill 20 miles to get to the Yerk pool.
yeah. I think he also says here a lot of the old Yeerks, or maybe not the old, but like a lot of other Yeerks don't necessarily like infesting. They're like it was fucking scary. I had like this body and all these senses that I didn't understand what they were, and I had to like control some other things. It was so weird and it freaked
Yeah,
me out. And he's over here like, no shit, man, I love that. Oh my god.
yeah, that's strange because I had assumed that Yerks were just naturally predisposed to do this.
Hmm.
Like this is
Yeah,
just their evolution.
yeah, and it's interesting because you would expect them to be. I guess you could see a similar thing with humans, where you might say like we are predisposed to be hunters, but like if you're not used to it, killing an animal is not. You're not necessarily like I want to kill that thing.
Yeah,
Since
perhaps.
since we hunt gather, I don't know. I could see it
Yeah,
does show a little bit more nuance to the Yerk side though, with this idea that like yeah, I mean listen, they're all eager to infest because it's a militaristic culture and they have to do it or they'll be fucking tortured to death or something. And that's like the only life path that's available to them. But like maybe if they
yeah.
grew up in the old pools with the old Council of 13 before they got all the Andalite tech, maybe things were different.
I I find it fascinating how they have kind of started to humanize, for lack
Hmm.
of a better term, Yerks. It's very different from like if you look at the Taxons, for instance, your
Hmm.
favorite.
Yes, yeah.
They're just like, oh, there's not all Taxons support the Yerks. There's like opposition to the war,
Hmm.
and that they could have done that. They could have just said, oh, some Yerks don't agree with it, and maybe they have, and maybe they will. But the way that this book is going about it is, and also kind of starting in book 19, is it actually wants to put you in the shoes of a Yerk and actually
Yeah.
attempt to justify what they do on a basic level.
Yeah. And that I do this is kind of my thing with the Taxons is that I think there's absolutely something there in the same vein with Taxons, and yeah, the series does not go there with them, which I think that
Because they're
as an intelligent
monsters.
as an intelligent race they deserve that same dignity, but it's just me.
Yeah, it is just you. You alone. What exactly was pre-host Yerk society then? They just like swim
Yeah.
around in a pool and die?
Yeah, I mean clear they we know they have sonar and they must have some kind of culture.
But it's strange because they're so intelligent. They're like hyper
Yeah.
intelligent. So what a shitty existence.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's
There's
like
I
if
think there's
slugs were geniuses.
Yeah. I mean if they could talk to each other then maybe there is something there.
But they don't
Like,
seem to have like art. They don't like create buildings or structure. I guess they create pools, I guess. Do they?
yeah,
Or they
yeah. I don't think they do. You could see like an entirely social, because so much of what our intelligence is bent toward is social. So like you could have something where it's like they have their version of an oral history where they're making like poems and stories and stuff, but we don't see any of that because and we don't even get it hinted at, I guess, is the real more of an issue, because like you could say like, yeah, but of course they don't have that now because the only Yeerks we see are the ones in this new, military structure with host bodies, so of course that's what they do, like that old culture is stamped out. But yeah, it would be nice to see a little more hints of what was going on. We know they did have a Council of 13 before that, like when the betrayal happened. Seerow says the Council of 13 would never have agreed to this. He doesn't believe it. So we know they had one.
Give me the Yeerk Chronicles.
I know. Me want Yeerk Chronicles.
But like, what happened? Just one day a Ged tripped in a pool, and that's that's how they figured out. Oh, we can go in their brains.
Yeah, maybe when the Geds drink, they have to stick their whole head under.
One day, one of them just like, yeah, I wonder what's up with that. I'll
What's
just slide
in
on
here?
in there. It's so weird.
It's like that. What do you think the first human to milk a cow was thinking? Type of meme post. What do you think the first Yeerk to crawl in an ear was thinking?
Yeah, I wonder. Well, yeah, I did have some questions about the framing device and the POVs at this point, but I guess I'll save that because you say that will be rationalized at some point.
Yeah, I think it's rationalized. I did not question it as a kid. I don't question it now. I'm good with it. So
I think Visser 3 was the point where I went, how does he know what Visser 3 is thinking?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. And I think we'll cover it. But,
okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So we've been introduced to Visser 3, and now we'll finally get to the part that I teased at the ending of last time. Aldrea is going to turn into a chadoo, or maybe chadoo, however you want to say it.
Fucking chadoo.
A Stacy do. Aldrea and her family have been on the planet for several months now. We know it's been at least 3 months, longer than. And she's been teaching Dak all kinds of different things. They're, friends now. They're just friends. But anyway, so one day Aldrea and Dak are out exploring the valley. And Aldrea's having a tough time because the ground is sloping everywhere and Dak's up in the trees. So she's like, she sees an animal up in the tree. She sees this chadoo, and this thing is.
I think I got some chicken chadoo the other night from the Indian place.
Damn, that sounds good.
Good.
The chadoo it's 2 feet long. It's covered in deep blue feathers. It has 4 short legs and 2 arms with claws at the end, so 6 limbs, I guess. And it's a glider, so it doesn't. I don't believe it can fly. I think it can only glide from tree to tree. So she acquires the morph so she can be up in the trees with Dak, where he lives. And so she turns into this chadoo. And they go on this crazy Tarzan-like romp through the trees, right? With Dak's like swinging around and leading the way, and Aldrea glides after him. Eventually, they reach the tribe tree, the biggest tree, which this one is. They say 2,119 feet high. It's covered in platforms and with Hork-Bajir on them, kind of like a Lord of the Rings elf village or like the Ewok village, but without the walkways because the Hork-Bajir don't need them. They can climb from platform to platform. And they see a ton of Hork-Bajir in like everyday activities, right? They're like collecting and cutting up and stacking bark. They've got places where they're telling stories to children and stuff. And they reach a lookout, and Aldrea demorphs on the lookout, and they look out over the valley, and she sees the blue mist at the bottom, which is Father Deep, and asks what's in it, and Dak doesn't know, but he says, they say that terror is in the deep.
They sure do. So, Jubba Jubba is in the deep.
Jubba Jubba might be in the deep.
I think they did say Jubba Jubba is in the deep.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Like they've already said it.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So
Yeah. A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And this is really where the Avatar should start kicking in.
yes,
Right.
this is the part where I said this is literally Avatar.
Yeah. Yeah. It is literally just Avatar.
Or, Avatar is this, to be more accurate.
Yes.
Although, let's be real, I'm sure this is like John Carter of Mars. Basically, I don't know if there's a precursor to that even, but yeah, it's not. None of these things are original.
You could go back before that and be like, listen, John Carter of Mars is the sci-fi, but you can go back and be like, oh, it's King Solomon's Mines. It's whatever the fuck,
It's right. Yeah, but it is Jake Sully riding the Banshee for the first time, and swinging through the trees or whatever. Except this time he turns into the Banshee.
Yes, this time turns into the Banshee,
which is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I noticed that Aldrea doesn't have to struggle with the instincts of the chadoo too much.
No, they spend very little time on the morph. She's just like, I'm gonna turn into this, and then she does it, and Dak's like, so that's really you, and she's like, yep, and he's like, okay, cool. Like, they don't have time to spend an entire chapter on
unlike us.
Morphing. Yeah. Unlike us, no, they've got a story to get to here,
Yeah, and I also, like you said, they're like Ewoks, I guess. They're kind of like Ewoks.
Yeah.
We didn't even, there's this one part, which maybe we just save for the next section, but when they talk about the Yeerks conquering all these ships and stuff.
Yeah.
This is a whole ass thing, because it's like 2 paragraphs that are hugely important.
Yeah,
that they're getting news that now these Yeerks they've attacked a Hodjabren ship, but failed because like their brains don't work.
Yeah, they've got distributed brains across their bodies. So like, but they have the ships. They have like a ship or two. They've got some Hodjabren, whatever ships, but they don't have the hosts from those.
There's this period right now where in the background the Yeerks are playing Katamari Damacy with the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're very small. They haven't conquered any planets. They haven't conquered any species, but they're picking up more, like they're gaining a fleet, right? Like they got a Skritna colony, so they got some ships. They've got the Angachik, they're minstrels.
Why are you omitting the H? There's an H.
I'm pronouncing it like a K.
Yeah, but it's Angachik.
Sure, Angachik, whatever you want. I always pronounced it Angakik.
What? But I just like, what other word are you basing that on? Like, what word is spelled CHIC where you just call it like kick? You wouldn't say chick.
It's like a foreign word, It's like if you're Americanizing a word with the sound in it, and it's like saying ich instead of ich in German, or ich, or whatever, however you pronounce things.
Whatever. I think it's Anja-chick.
Orange chick.
Are these
I like
the
that
ones
they are
that look
minstrels.
like Klingons?
They are, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting.
They specifically say that they are minstrels and that these guys are all spacefarers. They don't have a home planet. These are like the weirdo bards. They're space bards.
This whole thing is really, again, would be great material for a video game. This is like a strategy, like a Civ game where you're spreading throughout the universe.
Yeah, because you're all like, I'm tiny and impossible to find, but my opponent has overwhelming force, right? The Andalite fleet is the strongest one.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about fuck the Andalites. I just want to move throughout the galaxy, consuming and growing.
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful. The Andalites are there to be like, if you're too like you just stay in one place and are really obvious, the Andalites come in and blow you up. So you got to keep. But if you just keep spreading around until you're strong enough, then you do whatever you want.
I got to write this down. This is the board game too. Everyone's a Yeerk, and you're trying to see who can get your colony the biggest.
Oh yeah, you're all competing Vissers.
But the Andalites are like the NPCs, and
I really like the idea of Visser 1 and Visser 3 are conquering things, and if their ships come into contact, they blow each other up.
This is good. Okay. Anything else about the chadoo you want to talk about, or?
The chadoo, not in particular, but there's a couple things here. I like we learn a couple things about like Dak and Aldrea's relationship. Um, we learn, Aldrea has quit making data logs about this because she feels like a spy. Which kind of reminds me of Jake having to report to Quaritch, and stuff,
Oh, that
and
Jake.
maybe he has like kind of a turn, you know. But yeah, Aldrea does, she thinks of Dak as she's not willing to just like think of him as like the science project anymore. We also learn that Dak at this point can do what Aldrea considers basic math, like calculus and n-dimensional geometry.
This does make me think if Dak is his mind is so blown by all this shit that he's like being told gradually by Aldrea. Imagine how much Hork-Bajir are getting fucked up constantly when a Yeerk just enters their head and immediately they're like, "Oh, I'm on a spaceship." They just have
they just
no idea
what the fuck is
on.
happening. Yeah. I think they do say later on, when spoilers, some Hork-Bajir get infested, that the Hork-Bajir just like honestly do not know what's happening. Like they just it's like don't know.
They can't even. This is like Lovecraft. Like they can't even comprehend.
Yeah,
it's just otherworldly nonsense.
Yeah, it's so far beyond. We also find out here that Dak does not have a concept of a secret. Hork-Bajir don't keep secrets. They literally don't know the concept of a thing that you don't tell other people.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was a little uncomfortable. I don't know. I didn't really like when Aldrea was like, "Dak, do you know what a secret is?"
Oh boy.
Don't tell Mommy Sky about this.
Oh boy.
Just for special friends.
Now that is also where we find out that I don't think Aldrea's parents know she can morph, as I recall here. Yeah, so Aldrea has a friend whose mother helped work on the Escafil device. Now, I don't know if her mother was Escafil or just Escafil's assistant.
Did they tell us that Escafil's a person yet?
In another book, I think in the day when Axe said that the name was the Escafil device, he said named for its inventor.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah. So that is the thing. Aldrea is probably over here like, "Oh yeah, well, my aunt works at Escafil, and she said that in the next release."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very convenient that she has this, but it didn't have to be. Like, Kay Applegate could have just said, "Yeah, they all have morphing technology." Like, I don't know why she decided it was I guess because it's a prequel, so you want to be like, "Oh, the origin of morphing."
There might be some more ways in which that's convenient to the story later, but yeah, I do. It is fun, and it is good that Aldrea can do this, because otherwise there do become some issues.
There's got to be a morph in this.
Yeah,
you got to have a morph.
I mean, they went out of their way to write Animorphs in that huge text on the cover. I'm still on the cover, by the way.
What are those icons? I also would just like to say about this section, finally, Hork-Bajir jump good.
They do. They do jump good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the whole time Dak is like hooting and hollering, swinging through the trees, right? He's grabbing onto branches and jumping from tree to tree here. It's worth keeping in your mental image here that they are around 500 feet off the ground in this scene. It is specified.
Yeah.
No, he's having a great time out here. He jumps good. All right. So back to Esplin here. So after months of studying Andalites and understanding them better than any other Yeerk, Esplin still has not gotten a host. But eventually they call him to the pier because they found a new planet with a new species. They've captured 3 of them. And this new thing, they put Esplin in it. This new thing has amazing vision. It's super strong. It's super fast. And, it's a Hork-Bajir. They've got Hork-Bajir. So Actor 1154, as everybody knows, the great Yerk who personally led that initial attack against Alaran's troops and killed some of them himself. The great Actor. He asks Esplin if this body can fight Andalites, and Esplin's like, "Oh yeah, this thing can fight." And Actor announces the birth of the Yerk Empire. He says, "Then we will take this species. We will make them ours. This planet is where we make our stand. On this planet, we will build the foundations of a true Yerk Empire." You see, very momentous occasion here.
This kind of is the Yerk Chronicles. I don't. This isn't the Hork-Bajir Chronicles.
It has multiple functions.
Yeah, I guess. Were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
A lot of palp talk in this book, and I don't know if I like that.
Well, they're not pedipalps, at least.
I don't know what they are, but Visitor 3 keeps talking about his palps. And there's one part there he talks about getting a message palp to palp.
Just keep your palps covered. Cover your shame, please.
You remember that scene in Requiem for a Dream? Palp to palp.
Good scene.
Is there, again, I have so many questions about the logistics of Yerk society. Like, are these pools interconnected and they can swim between them? How are they
or maybe there's like
traveling?
seasonal flooding and they can sometimes transfer? I don't know.
I really don't understand. I need a better picture of how these Yerks live. And like, why do they pick Visser 3? Why is Esplin he's just some guy at this point? And they're like,
nobody else cares about Andalites enough. Like, there's people who are like, I read the tech. I'm learning the science. There's people who are like, oh, that computer stuff is weird and scary. And then they're like, and then there's this guy who just spends all day reading Andalite books and reading about Andalite physiology, and he just knows Andalites inside and out. So like, all right, we got a thing. Can this thing fight him? Like, physically, can it fight him?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. It just made it seem he was like, oh, they're not going to give me it seemed like he was kind of getting ignored. And then one day they're like, here you go. Now you're really important.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they were just like, listen, like until they had like they weren't looking at him because they were looking for like, navigators and science. Like, I need to figure out how to use this Hodgebron tech. I need to figure out how to navigate to a planet. I need the physicists and the mathematicians and the biologists or whatever. I don't need this weirdo guy. And then they're like, oh shit, I got this like warrior. I don't let's get the Andalite expert. It makes sense to me, at least.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. I just don't know that it was conveyed to me that well. But yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, there's a point in here where he's talking about infesting the Hork-Bajir, and he says that the ear was large and unobstructed, and as opposed to the Ged's ear. And I'm not sure if that's just because Hork-Bajir are bigger, but it made me think maybe Ged ears are more obstructed than like other ears because it's like an adaptation to prevent infestation. You know what I mean? Where there's like an evolutionary arms race. Like, Geds used to be easier, and then they developed these difficult ear canals, and then Yerks developed to be able to get around them or something.
I sure don't know where a Hork-Bajir's ear is looking at this illustration.
It is a good question. Probably like where a bird's ear is.
Yeah, I guess. It's just like a pore or something.
Yeah.
They go in through the eye.
No idea.
No idea.
Ah, that's clever.
Yeah, all right.
We should mention there's Janeth 429, a very old wise.
Very wise. Yeah.
It's also notable that Esplin here is really into like crushing this Hork-Bajir's mind, right? Like, the Ged is all beaten down; they don't even have to do it. The Hork is like, "What's going on?" And Esplin's like, "Ah ha ha ha! I have the power." Like, you see a little bit of that I do think that there are a lot of Yerks in the pool who maybe would be very disturbed by having to. I think Aftran, in fact, was kind of disturbed the first time she had to do this before she got used to it. Whereas Esplin, just right off the bat, is showing a little bit more of who he is here.
He loves it. Yes, he's like,
Mine.
I'm crushing you.
Yes. Even
Take it.
better. Bodies
Yeah.
are better when they're stolen.
He was born for this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. 7 weeks pass.
In the book.
And yeah, not. I mean, so far it's only been 6 weeks.
We're getting to the end.
Podcast.
We're getting to the wrap up.
We're getting to the wrap up. So one night, Aldrea and Dak are spending time together, you know, as they do. And they hear the speaking trees, which are hollow Nawin trees with vines strung across them, and then they draw a bow across it, which is it's like a stringed instrument, and it sends messages with like music or whatever. So they hear that 3 Hork-Bajir from the southern tribe were taken by new monsters from Father Deep, and the description of the monsters matches Ged's. So Aldrea is freaked out. She's about to explain Yerks when she realizes her father is sending out his nightly broadcast, and she freaks out and turns to run to warn him. So I do want to talk about some of these speaking trees here.
Yeah, well, this is where we really see all their kind of the more of the Hork-Bajir society, right?
Yeah, a little bit more of like their culture and interconnectedness in a way.
Who seemed, oh yeah, and the vines too, right? The communication of the vines, or not yet?
Well, yeah. The speaking tree is like the vines are like the strings on like the guitar or whatever. Or the violin, more like, and then the hollow tree is like the inside of the.
Yeah, I guess it's all interconnected.
Yeah, it's all interconnected.
Yeah, this to me for such a dumb fucking species. This seems like they have a pretty sophisticated form of music and communication.
Yeah, I always thought in my readings of this as a kid, I always thought that Hork-Bajir tech probably moved in like leaps and bounds by seers, because like past seers were not born to like, you know, help them with the coming of the Yerks or whatever, or the coming of the Andalites. So it might be like, oh no, the Hork-Bajir between the valleys can't talk, and there's a huge crisis happening, but a seer was born, and that seer used their knowledge to figure out that you could send messages, and so now the old one in the tribe tree passes down the wisdom that you do it this way. You set it up like that, this means that, this means that. Why does it work?
Like
we don't know. The seer told us many ages ago.
Yeah, I like that. Every once in a while a seer comes out and is like, look, this is how you make a phone, all right?
Yeah.
This will get you through another couple hundred years.
That's not that different from our society. I couldn't make a phone.
Yeah, that's true. Alexander Graham Bell, one of our great seers.
Yeah, one of the great seers of humans.
It is interesting they use the term seer, because that's typically associated with like a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it's used here. It's a guy, they like see the bigger picture kind of.
Yeah, he can see farther. They're almost like psychic though, because they're so far advanced beyond anything. I'm just remembering there's some like there's some like Outer Limits episode where some guy goes in like an evolution machine and he comes out like 1,000 years advanced, and he's got a giant head, and he says, like, some guys come up against like with like police officers, and he uses his psychic powers against them, and he says, "Your ignorance makes me ill and angry." And I think about that line all the time. That's what I'm imagining here, right? Like, he's just so smart, you see. Their ignorance makes him ill and angry.
Yeah, okay. I like it. It sounds good. I should watch that.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is, but I remember it's one of those.
Sounds like the mutants in Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
It does kind of, actually.
I had to bring it back to something that I could understand.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
All right.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's good. And earlier on, Seerow said that Hork-Bajir don't have any music to speak of, which is just wrong. Like, right here we see they do. The Andalites they were just like, oh, they're just dumb, backwards primitives. They don't have any culture. They do.
Fucking Andalites, pieces of shit.
I know. Right?
Fuck off, Seerow. Why
Yeah.
don't you go
No,
fucking start another genocide, you bitch?
Dak here also seems to be falling into that. Like he's kind of grumpy here, where he keeps being like, "Oh, this is just our primitive music. It's no good because like you Andalites are better." And Aldrea has to be like, "No, Dak, it's still fine."
No, this would definitely be in like the top 200. It's good.
It's good, yeah. And on that note, there's a lot of sexual tension here,
Do you
like
mean
a
when
lot.
Aldrea says it was not the first time? Oh, sorry, Dak says it was not the
Yeah.
first time she had touched me.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I enjoyed the fact that she would grab me for balance, or
Mm-hmm.
playfully slap me in pretended upset, or take my hand as we watched the sun turn red.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I am talking about that part, yes. Yes, indeed. I also am talking about the part where he says, in many ways I was no longer Hork-Bajir, but when we were together and I looked at her delicate shape, I knew that I was not Andalite either.
It's interesting because it's really not explicit. I don't mean
Mm-hmm.
sexually explicit, but I just mean
Right, right.
like they're if we're calling it a romance, which
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it will develop into, it is pretty. You do kind of have to read into that. It's not made
Mm-hmm.
very clear, at least for for an Animorphs book for kids. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, these people like each other. It's a little bit more subtle than that.
Yeah. I think there is a fine line to walk between, like, I want to write a love story. Is this bestiality? It's kind of like it's okay. They're both intelligent, and neither one is actually human. So, like, maybe it's okay.
Yeah,
But there
yeah.
is some tension here in a way that's a little bit odd, since they're not morphing into each other. Right.
No,
Aldrea has only been a chadoo here.
they're just two healthy,
Mhm.
fuckable aliens.
They sure are. I mean, to be fair, I want to fuck both of them. So they don't look like me either.
They're 18, right?
Probably.
Okay.
Sure, maybe. In Hork-Bajir years.
Yeah, I also really love they talk about the Geds, and she says we never could figure out why they evolved with their legs being different lengths.
Yeah, they just
Geds are
stumble
just
around like
the
losers.
dumbest fucking race.
Okay, here it is. Because, right, the Geds that stumbled around like that, they slipped and fell into Yerk pools. And it turns out they actually are symbiotic. The Geds that got helped by Yerk intelligence did better, so the ones that were too dumb to not be able to slip and fall, they died out.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I can buy that being actually a symbiotic relationship. It's
Yeah,
like
maybe there's something there.
the Geds are like so dumb they might as well just be like mech suits. Like there's not even a brain there to take over. It's just a body.
They do describe the Geds as having like an intelligence. It's just like completely crushed and beaten down because, the test Ged spends all day being infested by Yerk after Yerk after Yerk.
They
That's all
like
he
that.
does.
It's what they're used to.
He would be upset. He wouldn't know what to do with his freedom.
Um okay,
Um,
I mean, I have some stuff that's sort of more Yerk related. I don't know where are we at right now?
we can, if we finish it off. I've got more stuff that's Yerk related too.
Great.
But
Let's get to the end of the book and then we can cover everything else.
okay,
I mean,
well,
and
the end
by
of the
end of the book
part,
I mean, yes, chapter 12.
chapter 12. That's how far we've gotten into this book. You could have read it 4 times by the time we were done talking about it. All right, so jump back to Esplin. We meet another Hork-Bajir controller. We meet the Yerk Karger, I'm going to say, 7901. And Esplin and Karger they've been ordered to blow up the Andalite scoop from orbit, right? They received Prince Seerow's transmission. And then go clean up the survivors, any survivors with their new Hork-Bajir bodies. They see 3 Andalites at the scoop. Esplin says, "Oh, wait for the 4th one," but Karger is like, "No, shoot now." cut back to Dak and Aldrea, who are running there, and they watch as the Yerk shoot and the scoop explodes, and her family burns to death. And we end this part with Aldrea screaming in rage up at the sky. So I like this point to cut off and stop. I'm happy with myself for choosing it. But let's talk about some of the, there's some more Yerk stuff in here.
Sure, yeah. So the Yerk stuff, well, I mean, I just think it's very funny that we find out here this is when they just made up the term viscer.
Yes. Yeah, they're just like, we need some kind of a hierarchy. Like, we had Council of 13 and no one else, but like, no, we need some other shit.
It's not like this is a word in the Yerk language. This is like 40 years prior to the series. Someone was just like, I don't know, what should we call him? Viscer?
Maybe it was a word. Maybe viscer means something in Yerkish.
He seems to... His reaction to it, to me, sounds like he's like, oh, there's some new word they made up, I guess. Some of viscer now. I don't know.
Made up this new word, lieutenant.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's a weird ass word.
I don't know. That's very funny to me. And also, again, this feels a little bit to me like prequelitis. That, and also they mention, dome ships are being built right now. It feels too much like, you got to find out where's the stuff came from. Yeah,
I mean, this does tell me something interesting. Like, it is a little bit, I can see where you're coming from, where it's
all these things are happening.
Everything we've seen Andalites do so far is new. But it does place things where it's like, a lot of this Andalite tech is new tech. This is current gen tech. This was not here before the Yerk War. It was developed specifically because the Yerks were a threat and they needed it. They were not running around policing the galaxy with dome ships pre-Yerk. They were policing them with transports and fighters and stuff. Yeah. But I see what you're saying. There are some good things with the Viscer and Sub-Viscer. I appreciate that, like, it's all very loose and haphazard. They're trying to figure it out from scratch. They just got a bunch of guys. They grabbed whatever they could and ran. Because they say here that Karger is a Sub-Viscer, mostly because after they said they were going to make Viscers and Sub-Viscer, Karger started being like, it's me, Sub-Viscer Karger, and nobody contradicted him, so now he just is. That's just... he had the ambition to do it, nobody shot him down, and that's how it all got started.
That's how you do it. You walk into a place and act like you belong there.
Yeah, that's what he did.
He just had he rizzed him up.
Smart enough not to go for Viscer, because then Actor might have got mad, but Sub-Viscer you can get away with.
Karger, who Viscer 3 says is too crude and violent for him.
Yeah, somebody might be a little jealous here, I think, maybe.
What is that? I don't, like, what?
Yeah, like, this is a different Viscer 3 than we know in the books, because Karger is nowhere near as crude or violent as Viscer 3 in the rest, as an adult. This young Viscer 3 still is a reasonable person.
And then... as you said, Aldrea's family gets Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru is what happens.
Yes. Yeah, I do have Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru in my notes specifically. Yep. The way he's looking at it. Now, Aldrea here has a much more normal reaction. Luke, when he comes home and Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are dead and burning corpses in front of him, he's like, I guess I'll go off with this old guy. There's nothing else left for me to, like,
No, dead. Come on. He looks out at the sun and contemplates.
I guess that's, He does not scream with rage about killing every Yerk.
They were old. Like, they probably were going to die anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was no Barafin.
But this is pretty shocking that but also it's like, that's why we're on her POV because everyone else is dead.
Yeah, or not on Barafin, that's for sure. Not on Seerow.
Yeah, because we never found out what happens to Seerow. Like, again, I just assumed he lived 100 years earlier, but
and that's the other. We don't. Never in the stories of Seerow do we hear that, like, almost immediately one of the first Andalite casualty after the initial attack is Seerow. Like, he's just the first one who
Yeah.
gets fucked over by his decision.
They just don't. They're like, he fucked up, and that's all we need the history books
Yeah.
to say about him.
He's disgraced. Fuck him. We don't want to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a dark place to end the first third here.
Yeah, it's and it is a fairly shocking scene. By if you picked this up just as a random sci-fi book, this would be a pretty intense and shocking scene. If you've read a lot of Animorphs, you'd be like, oh, hey, some death and trauma. I was expecting that at some point.
Right. True. This book is another one that does not really give you the exposition stuff.
Yeah, not at all.
I think like you'd pick up on it, but not. I mean, certainly not the Animorphs series.
Yeah,
they don't even touch. Like you're like, who the fuck is Tobias?
yeah. You would just. I don't know what that is. Cut that out. Fuck that.
Why is there a bird talking about an element?
Yeah, like it seems like they're on Earth, but then there's a talking bird. That fucking shit.
Yeah,
but yeah, like I do think that if you were to just read this blind, the back cover would be very helpful. It would do a lot of heavy lifting and being like, what is Aldrea? They don't, it's like they do explain that she has hooves and 4 legs and no mouth and tail blade and stalks, but they don't just say that. Like, those are all details that come up and you just be like, I don't know what this thing is. So it would help a lot to be able to, oh, okay, I get what this is supposed to be.
I do think that's generally how like a well-written sci-fi novel could be written. You don't.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
There wouldn't be like a paragraph like an Animorphs of here's what they look like.
Yeah.
It feels more. But it's hard for me to judge because we know it's hard for me to judge. Is it more natural or would I be confused if I? But who the fuck's reading this book without having read an Animorphs book before?
No, nobody's actually doing that. I love your hypothetical of just picking this up as a sci-fi book. But
like, I want to know what that experience would be like, but I don't think I would ever actually want someone to have to do it.
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, could these Chronicles books stand alone? I do want that experiment carried out.
Yeah, that would be fascinating. It's too bad I didn't do that with you.
No, I would refuse to do it.
Yes.
I wouldn't have wanted to do it.
Yeah, I know how you are.
Now here's the good news. Are any other final thoughts? I think we can.
Not really. I'm just like, my main thought on this is that honestly, I could do an entire series of Hork-Bajir exploits. Like, I don't need the rest of this book. I could do 30 books that they have like 6 months to work with here, but I could do like 30 books that are just the adventures of Dak and Aldrea or Dak and Jaggle. Like, before anything serious happens, here's some, this is the time when we went to whatever tree and the X person saw an Andalite and they were like, what? And then Aldrea, we had to, I don't know.
You want the part of the movie where they're just swimming around.
Yeah. It's like an entire series.
Yeah.
That's
Dak and Jaggle, by the way, underrated PlayStation series. I was a big fan of Dak and Jaggle back in the day.
I would play Dak and Jaggle.
Anyway, we'll have many more thoughts on Hork-Bajir Chronicles over the next 2 episodes, but I was just going to say the good news is we only have one pop culture reference in this book. Single one.
She managed to slip one in.
And yeah, there's no fucking Lauren sneaking in this book to feed us more.
Right.
As far as I know at this point. So that comes in the very beginning when Tobias is about to hear a Hork-Bajir story, and he theorizes that the story isn't exactly going to be Party of 5. That's his baseline for riveting entertainment.
I don't know that Party of 5's where I would have gone on that one.
Party of 5. That's a show I never watched, but I know it exists.
Yeah.
I know it was on.
It was
and
real.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it. Next time we will go through chapter 24. So just for
Right.
those, just to
And
prep
the
that
ones
before we.
before it too.
Right. Yeah, we're not just reading that one. Although maybe that's what we need to do, time-wise.
I think. Well, I know we always say this, but I do think this time parts 2 and 3 of this will be much shorter.
This time for sure.
Yeah, this time for sure.
There's no way they could be our longest episodes to date.
If you would like to send us your thoughts on the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, get them in now. Parts 1, 2, 3. Email them in now and so we can read them, or series thoughts in general, anything. Email us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Jonathan Estes or on Threads at Jonathan Estes. Or go to my website, jonathanestes.com. Check out my YouTube videos.
Yay. You can follow me on Blue Sky as well now. I am, what the fuck is my handle? Like Dog Times or something?
I'm sure it's Dog Times McGee.
I'm not actually sure it's Dog Times McGee. I'm actually about to check that right now because I don't remember. Yeah, at dogtimes.bluesky.
Wow.
But I'm using Dog Times McGee as my at Dog Times. You can follow me on Blue Sky, courtesy of Nick No Name. Thank you, Nick No Name. I have all of a single post so far.
2 for me.
Wow, yeah, we're exciting guys. So you can follow us there.
That's it.
Did you tell us where to email us?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
all
I
right.
did that.
Cool. Thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be talking about the Hork-Bajir Chronicles again, in which we meet the Jubba Jubba on the Yerky Boys.